What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, Thursday episode of 30 NSG, the Daily Grind. If you like what we do here, we cover news stories, have conversations, talk to chat. We get you through a couple of hours of your day. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as low as $5. I do appreciate it. Each and every single day, we've been getting a little bit more viewership coming in. We hit our peak concurrent first time in the morning shows at 70 yesterday, so I do appreciate people coming in for the first time, checking out and hanging out, and seeing if you enjoy the show. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Concord's catastrophic failure has made me even more worried about Bungie's marathon. Not me, the article. Star Wars Outlaws. I saw these two titles. I posted them in our Discord. It made me laugh. Because people say that, oh, you're so positive on Star Wars Outlaws, even though I give it a lot of shit, even though I'm really enjoying the game. But I'm disappointed in the game because, well, it's not working correctly. It's something's wrong. Something's off with it. But I'm not talking about it's not working like the controllers broke or something. It's just missing something. So we have a title here. It says Star Wars Outlaws Director, a little disappointed by the review scores, but vows to improve the game. And if we're going to improve the game, that means there's leeway to say, hey, there's problems with that game, where those of you out there, they're like, no, the game's perfect. We'll talk about perfect games. Then there was another article called Star Wars Outlaws Director Confesses being a little disappointed with the Metacritic, but says we're never going to stop improving it. Again, that's admitting that there's something wrong with the game and they have to fix it, which I said will be fixed between 8 and 12 months from launch. Okay. Then we have something that I never thought I would actually hear, but thinking about it and reading the article, we have an article talking about Sony CFO says the company doesn't have enough IPs. And now I get what people are thinking. They're like, what are you talking about? They got so many IPs, but I'm going to tell you what I think he actually means, and I think it's lost in translation of the actual thing. Then we're going to talk about Spectre Divide. We just had an article yesterday talking about their $90 bundle skins, okay? And here's the title, okay? It says, it turns out we swung a bit too high for the microtransactions, so we're gonna read that as well. And then we're gonna talk about Astrobot's scoring that's happening right now. Congratulations to the guys that made Astrobot. It looks like it's a fun game, but we're gonna talk about just scoring in general about video games and how people love to overhype something. There's been more perfect scores in the last 10 years than there has ever been in the history of video games, and we're going to kind of go through that list. If you guys, like I said, like what I do here, we just have conversations, talk to chat, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are trying to hit 3,000 subscribers. If you like my content, hit that subscribe button. If you don't like my content, don't hit that subscribe button. Like, you like it, but you don't like it enough to hit the subscribe, don't hit it. I'm okay with you not hitting the subscribe button, because if you don't watch my stuff every day, it kind of hurts the channel. So just watch it. I appreciate you. Hit that like button. All right. What's going on, chat? What's going on, Travis? Eclipse, Kylo, Dustin, Dark Taco, Water Bear, good morning. Who am I missing? Scrolling down. Roadkill, Ron Slusher, good morning. Zinthos, good morning. Hemi, good morning. All right, let me see what you guys are saying this morning. Kylo starts off and says, Astrobot, a 95, now an open critic. Crazy that Sony doesn't need to dump $200 million in 8 years into the game to make a hit. They actually came out, they said it wasn't 8 years, it was 6 years. They said it was 6 years. After like 2 weeks of talking, or 3 weeks of talking about Concord, saying it took 8 years. That was conceptual, which we figured that's what it was. Waterbear says, sup all? I got 2 hours. 2 hours. I'm doing my honey to-do lists because he wants to play some Space Marines. Until before November 15th, because after that day, all the games get put into a pile of memories for a while. That's for Path of Exile 2? Is that what you're talking about? Roadkill says they need smaller IPs, not games that will take 5 to 6 years. Kylo says, true that. It feels like critics aren't as accurate or or underscoring games now. Yeah, they just put it out there for that shock value. Like, oh my God, click on this article. Perfect score. Roadkill says, hey, Astrobot 100, Mike. Don't be hating because Xbox don't have the Astro Boys. Here we go. Roadkill coming in, trying to make me feel like I'm an Xbox guy. No, there's no such thing as a perfect game. There better be nothing wrong with that game, Roadkill. Nothing. Nothing. It better not drop a fucking frame. It better not crash on you in any way, shape, or form. Everything must be exactly perfect, okay? There's no such thing as a perfect score. I don't care what system you're playing on. There's no such thing as a perfect game. Ron Slusher says Concord's being rebranded as Astrobot minigame. Oh, man. Can you imagine how fast that wiped out, Ron? Right? They have literally the worst game in the history of ever making a game. They gave refunds 9 to 10 days after it launched, and 2 days later, wiped from existence, Astrobot. Greatest game ever created. Crazy. Like the sways. I'm getting nauseous like I'm seasick. I was like, whoa. Now I'm back up to perfect game. So now Sony has made the shittiest game ever created, right, financially, to the greatest game ever created. That's a big shift in 2 days. That's a big shift. Big shift. All right, talk about big shift. We're going to start off with Spectre Divide, okay? Now, I didn't even know about this game until yesterday when we read the article about the $90 bundle skin, okay? Now, there was like 19,000 people playing Concord's dream numbers that they would have loved to hit, okay? But Spectre Divide right now, and actually, let me go look at what, hold on, where is it? Let me, I don't feel like typing. So, let's go look at Steam charts. All right, so right now, all-time peak yesterday was 26,000, 16,000 right now for Spectre Divide. Okay, so Spectre Divide lowers skin prices just hours after launch. We took a swing that we thought would be best, set us up to support the game, and turn out we swung a bit high. Let that sink in for a second. Let that sink in for a second. Yesterday we read an article, $90 bundles. That's what they wanted to sell you. $90 bundles. They got pushback because of you. You disgraceful gamers that don't like paying high prices for shitty microtransactions in the games. It's your fault. They had to lower the price. Morning, East Vandal. Okay. So let's read on, shall we? Despite a promise of big adjustments, Spectre Divide skins are still really damn expensive. Okay. So it says when you purchase through links of our site, we also may earn an affiliate. Oh, that's not that article. Spectre Divide game director Lee Horn says Mountaintop Studios has heard your feedback on the steep cost of gaming characters and weapon skins and the reduced of the cost by 17 to 25%. Oh my God, I feel like they're giving us away for Christmas. Yeah, 25% off. Get out of here with that arbitrary number that you just put on those things. Okay, depending on the skin or bundle in question. The feedback referenced by Horn was put into sharp focus yesterday by staff writer Morgan Park, who pointed out the Spectre Divide of Cryo skins bundle cost an eye-watering, I was laughing, okay, $90, an insulting price made more egregious by 2 points. One, the skins really aren't all that great, and two, we couldn't actually get into the game because matchmaking bugs. But who cares about that? You guys really play games so you can pay $90 for skins. But can you imagine that people would understandably be more sensitive about high-priced cosmetics when the game belonging to it isn't working properly? Okay? He wasn't alone on that front. Plenty of Spectre Divide players on Reddit and community Discord felt the same way and weren't shy about saying so. I would hope not. Thank God there's more people like me that actually speak out of, speak up. Like going, $90? What are you, crazy? Okay. So offers notoriously also said high-priced skins, but others countered it as a Spectre Divide shows a lot of potential and it ain't Valorant. He says, quote, that's a $20 bundle at most on a good day. That's a mistake right there. That's a mistake right there. You put a price tag on the $90 and you brought it down to 20, and they're like, 20, they'll pay 20. Okay? On a good day, he said on Reddit. Wrote about the Cryo bundle. The pricing implements a direct competitor to Valorant and clearly miles away from both in terms of features, 64-tick servers, no rank mode on release, and skin appeal itself. The reaction was negative enough to spark a price reduction as well as an automatic partial refund in Spectre's points in the in-game currency. For anyone who purchased the item before the price cuts, here's the new pricing. Oh my God, they pulled a Sony. They gave refunds back for people because they're like, no, yeah, we didn't want to spend $90. We lowered it down to $70. $70. They're doing you guys a favor. $70. Okay. They lowered the 45 down to 34. They lowered the 15 to 12. They lowered the $10 to 8. They lowered the 18 to 15, and they lowered the all prestige character skins from 13 to 1,000. Man, I really feel like these guys really care. I feel like this company's off to a great start for their first game, putting it out there because they really got to support the devs. Support the devs. Okay. Spectre points out that our purchases in-game at cost of $5 per 500 points with increased discounts as they buy bigger bundles. So the $100, for instance, you'll get 11,500, essentially a bonus of $15. Essentially, these are all just made-up currencies that they're creating in their heads anyway. So, they can make it whatever they want. Horn said Mountaintop Studios settled on the original pricing because Spectre Divide is a free-to-play game, and 90% of players never spent a dime on it. That's correct. Do you know why? Because you got to make a game. You got to make a game. You make a game, you sell a game. Now, you chose to make your game free-to-play, but then you egregiously said, you know what? We're going to make a free-to-play game, but we're going to charge $90. In the grand scheme of things, okay, what would your game cost if it wasn't free-to-play? Okay? Would it have cost 40? Would it cost 50? Would it cost 60? Would it cost 70? You're charging more money than the actual game would have cost itself. And that is fucking retarded. Okay? We love our free-to-play players deeply, but we also have to pay for servers. Oh, do you? Oh, well, then why make a free-to-play game? Why didn't you make a full-price game and then charge small microtransactions? Because you can't. I hate to say this. Your game might have 26,000, but that's going to diminish real fast. You know why? Because there's other games out there that are much better, okay, and cheaper with their microtransactions, okay? It says that being a new fully independent studio with limited resources is tricky. Not really. You go out and you get investments. You get investors to pay for your game so you, the studio, make the money off that so you can make your game. Then once you make the game and you sell that game or put it out there for free because you already made your money, now you're waiting for that money to kick back, but you're trying to make all the money back super quick with your scummy microtransactions. But these are just my opinions, by the way. My opinions. I'm not playing your game, so don't worry. Okay, so we took a swing and we thought it would be best to set up to support the game. Turns out we swung a bit high, so we're adjusting to be better in line with your feedback. You're still overpriced by, I don't know, $50. Okay, these are all fair points and sucks, but at the bottom line is that people who make games also have to make money. Amazing. Amazing. I'm really glad that they're telling us how business works. And this is how our system works. So 25% reduction is meaningful. $70 is still a hell of a price for a bundle of weapon skins, most apparently applied described as white and gray. You can buy Call of Duty Black Ops 6 for the same price, and while I'm not necessarily suggesting you should do that, you should opt instead of Assassin's Creed Shadows or maybe pick up Stalker 2. That's a nice sandwich. Okay? Die-hard competitive shooter players often tend to pick a game and stick with it, so spending money on other stuff might not have so much appeal for that crowd. But more broadly, I think the whole, Quote, you could have 5 weapon skins or a whole ass big budget game. Comparison to fair thing to think about. I reckon Mountaintop was hoping if players would be from a hardcore Valorant or Counter-Strike crowd and more than happy to drop nearly triple digits on cosmetics. Evidently not. The reaction to the announced price cuts seem a mix so far. Some players are happy to see it, and others, more to point out, the Mountaintop Studios is willing to make adjustments to respond to players' complaints. But others say that the prices are still too high for the game, and that's just getting off the ground. That's right. They're putting the cart way, way before the horse. At least League of Legends and stuff are putting $500 skins in the game, right? Like, years later, after they've proven themselves. No, these guys are coming right out of the gate going, oh, yeah, you love us? Well, we're going to bend you over and make you pay $90. Sorry, 25% discount, $70. Okay, so the value isn't there. And insane to watch people try to defend this by saying free game, free game. So, yes, the game is free, but 70, quote right here, 70 fucking dollars for a bundle of weapon skins is absurd. I'll just take that $70 and buy several different games and spend my time elsewhere. Okay, let me know what you guys think about this, because, again, I didn't even know about this game until yesterday when they had the $90 skin. But God forbid, their good willing hearts, they've decided to give you a discount, friends and family discount, for really coming in and supporting the game. They're going to give you a 25% discount. Round of applause for Mountaintop Studios just coming into the scene. Blindly just going, hey, you know what? Concord charged $40 for their game and no one wanted to play it. We're giving you a free-to-play game. Kudos to you. But we're going to charge you $90, now $70 for shitty skins in our game. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. In the comment section down below. In the live stream, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like what I do here, please check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Well, let's see what you guys are talking about. What do you guys think? I know there's some of you out there going, $90? That sounds like a great... $70? That sounds better. I'm going to go play that game for 10 minutes. Give them $70 and never play it again. Robert Jones says, imagine if gamers tried what they did with Concord with microtransactions and pay to win. East Vandal says, $70? What a bargain. I know, isn't that nice of them? So nice of them. I mean, that's just one day. Just think, if no one buys it today, by tomorrow, it could drop down from 70 to 50. That would be a 45% discount. That's crazy. Zinto says, the only reason the First Descendant gets away with it is because the $100 skins are revealing outfits. Even then, the game is free to play, and there's a lot of content in there. With a game like a hero shooter or a arena shooter, you're just playing those smaller maps and whatnot. There's like dialogue and cutscenes and mission base and different maps and different, like, there's a lot more in First Descendant. I don't think you can compare First Descendant free to play to a arena shooter, hero shooter as a free to play. They're two completely different games. Now, if you want to take and compare it to other games, then you got to compare it to other games in that market. Apex, the Finals, Marvel Rivals that's going to come out later this month. And when that comes out, no one's going to be playing these games like this. Deadlock that's out. Dustin says, I don't mind $90 skin with free-to-play. Waterbear says, so maybe Concord should have taken the route as well. $90 for their shitty skins for free-to-play? They have, what, over 20,000 players? That's right. They have the exact same amount of players that bought the game as Spectre Divide has for their max player count. Right? But no one buys the games. No one plays the games. No one pays for the games. Are you saying the First Descendant $100 skins are acceptable? Did I say that? Did I say that? I said you can't compare that type of game to an arena shooter. Fuck no, that's not reasonable. Robert Jones, this is not your first day here. You know I don't like microtransactions, and I gave shit to that game with the $100 skins and every other game that puts out stuff like that. I think $15 microtransactions in Fortnite are absurd. They're putting new skins in there every day. They could charge $1 and they would still make $1,000 a day off people. They would just give more value to people. They would just get more skins. All right, what do we want to talk about next? Bo says no, but they do look great on those ladies. I gave shit to Call of Duty for charging $1 for a reticle. I'm consistent where I'm at about microtransactions. You have to give me value, hence why I like DLC, hence why I like content. Can't compare almost sounds like, man, it's okay. That's the way you took it. That's not the way I've said it. Again, you know where I stand on microtransactions, and I give all games that have microtransactions shitty business practices and say each one can go suck a dick, okay? Because they're all scummy business transactions. So don't say that I'm okay with $100 from the First Descendant, okay? Because I am not. If I was, I would purchase it, wouldn't I? I'd be like, wow, that's a good value. I could see some tits and ass. And here's another point. Can I earn stuff in Spectre Divide? Can I earn those with the currency in the game? Do I have to grind out? Can I buy that? Or the only way to buy it is to pay $90 for it? Travis says, let's talk about Superior Marines 2 is crushing it. Is it? I haven't seen anything about it, except unless its name is Astrobot, because right now Astrobot's crushing it. Water says you can earn money in IRL to buy skins in Spectrum Divide 30. Oh. Well, then I guess I'm okay with it then, Water. Let me go grind. Let me go grind, you know, a day's work, 8 hours. Come on, chat. You got to give me some money so I can go buy $100 skin. No, do not do that. Do not do that. I would not spend my money on that shit anyway. Okay. Astrobot is the mask. What do you mean Astrobot is the mask? What does that mean, Mo? You're saying, is that what they're wearing right now? That's what they're wearing? I mean, that's all I had to do. Just take the Concord box and put Astrobot's face on it. Would have sold better. They should have just made Concord Astrobot Shooter. Done. I don't want to talk about the IPs yet, because I want to link that into something else later. What is this? Oh, that's the modern day. Okay. An Astrobot. We got Star Wars. That's what I'm saying, Water. Take Astrobot, put him in Concord. Well, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You guys brought up that David Jaffe said something about talking about, I don't know if it was someone in his chat that said it or if Dave Jaffe himself said it. He said make it like a hero shooter, but within the IPs of PlayStation inside of Concord. And I thought that was actually a pretty good idea, right? Make a PlayStation hero shooter, right? With all their characters within one realm. That would have been pretty interesting. Now, I don't want to go into that, but we are going to talk about Concord's catastrophic failure has made me even more worried about Bungie's marathon. So this article comes from PC Gamer. If you guys like what we do here, we cover news stories, have conversations. I read the story for the first time on stream, give you my thoughts and opinions as I read the article. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Kylo says, I saw one of the secret mission episodes was on Concord. That episode is definitely getting scrapped. What's the secret mission episodes, Kylo? Like the cutscenes that they were showing? They've sold 18 million copies now, Eclipse. Black Myth Wukong. 18 million, supposedly. Oh, let me see if I can get that article real fast. We weren't going to talk about it here, but let me... Black Myth Wukong has earned almost 1 billion gross revenue on Steam data claims. It says Wukong has exceeded 880 million in gross revenue on Steam, having sold more than 18 million copies since being released on August 20th. So that's huge. That's the third game this year that is from like a new studio or a smaller studio. We have Pal World, Helldivers 2, and now Black Myth Wukong that just selling boatloads of copies. Boatloads of copies. What we got? 23 or 25 million Pal World, right? 12 million for Helldivers that we knew when they told it, and now we have 18 million for Black Myth. And I guarantee you, none of those games, none of them, Pal World, Helldivers 2, or Black Myth Wukong, okay, cost anywhere near $200 million. $250 million or $300 million. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. That's not supposed to pop up. Okay, he used a K 3 times now. Who is he? And where's 30? Oh, because I said Wukong correctly? I practiced, 2 weeks ago when we started talking about it. I screwed it up multiple times, but I fixed it. I fixed it last week. You know what? Fuck you, Wuhong. Right. It's Wuhong until it sells, and now it's Wukong. You better know the name. It sold 18 million copies. All right. Next story is Concord's catastrophic failure has made me even more worried about Bungie's marathon. So this article comes from PC Gamer. It says, becoming increasingly hard to see the path of success for sci-fi extraction shooter reboot. Okay. So the article is written, the article guy says, in my 24 years of covering games, I struggle to think more startling failures than Concord, which this week announced it would also be going offline to explore options. You know what's really funny to me? Just a few months ago, people were talking about Suicide Squads like it had what happened to Concord. But yet Concord is now set a standard where Suicide Squads looks like an amazing game. because not only did it sell decently, okay, it sold like 2 million copies or something like that, but it's still able to be played, which is amazing, okay? So, Witcher Week announced that it will also be going offline to explore options that will also be better reach our players. Our moment, it has also had been out for just 11 days. Of course, plenty of higher profile games have launched disastrously, and all for all sorts of reasons. The Concord Unique had how fast it flamed out. Right now, the Steam concurrent data shows that there are 56 people playing, having peaked at 697 around launch. By the realistic Metacritic, Concord was dead on arrival. Yeah, now when you look up DOA, it'll just have a picture of Concord on it. Okay, so what also is remarkable is that Concord presumably had a deep pockets of Sony to draw on. After the publisher acquired Firewalk Studios last April, though, Firewalk is also a new developer. It's packed with the industry veterans, notably including several who worked for the senior gameplay roles at Bungie on Destiny 2. And the DA connection is partly why it's also been thinking about Marathon this week, and this is how shaky its own prospects seem. But it's also other similarities. So Tyler Wilde wrote about the Concord had landed in such a thud last week, and I'm also here to those reasons, redo those reasons. But I agree that the conflation of many causes, the aesthetics has too safe to stand out. The combat lacked the hook that also made you rush to tell your friends about it. And the retail price in the world of free-to-play felt like a wild misread of the room. 1,000%. That's what made it, in my opinion. I've talked about this in the past. The $40 was the gatekeeping of everything else, right? I think a lot of people, if it started off free-to-play, wasn't $40. And we're talking months ago when they announced it was $40, not just at launch, right? When they said it was $40 months ago, everyone was like, I'm good. Hence why the beta came out, open beta. People were like, I'm not even going to play it because it's a $40 price tag. That was the gatekeeping, in my opinion. If they took that off and it was free-to-play when it came out, I think it would have had much better player base, because it would have been leading up to months ahead of time, people knowing, oh, it's free to play, it's coming out, I'm going to give it a shot. But because they knew it was $40, they said, I'm not even going to touch it. Okay. He says, so I expect Concord to struggle, and Sony must have had the same inkling, given how little marketing support it had. I saw around at launch, it was also brutal, reminded me that the marketing being is okay game is nowhere near as rough to break through. Now, is the live service model the problem? He says, what I don't think is true is the idea of a Concord in the mind of the live service game as a model. Take another look at the Steam numbers, and you'll see that the likes of Apex Legends, Rainbow Six Siege, Deadlock, ticking along nicely. What we can say is that it's getting harder and harder to persuade players to abandon their current forever game and forever spending the time in something else. Well, that's not true. There's 3 games right now that people went over better than what Concord was doing, and this is why I think the price point was the big thing, okay? You have Deadlock, free-to-play game, closed beta right now, and it's smashing, right? You have the greedy monetization of Spectre Divide. They have 26,000 people playing. Why? Free-to-play. You have Marvel Rivals. When they had their numbers, they were in the 20,000, 30,000 mark, okay? That's a free-to-play game as well. So what do they all have in common? Free-to-play, okay? Where Concord was not, okay? So, to a degree, of all games face the same battle for attention, but the few games brutally competitive is the online PvP shooters. So, all which adds the challenge facing Marathon. And why, if it was an account at Sony, I would be sweating Gallahorn rockets right now. Obviously, I'm not going to prejudge the quality of the game, but to also see the CG trailer above. But I've also had a nagging worry about Marathon's fate. Not Lisa, who's actually supposed to be, who's this supposed to be for, but also known as certain about Marathon. Here's the thing. We've been talking about Marathon. I have a video. Like, I said, who's this for? We know that Chris Barrett was working on it, and then all of a sudden left. And now we know why. Okay. And then someone else took over. And then they changed the way the game was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be an extraction. It was supposed to be a hero shooter. And then they changed it from a hero shooter to an extraction shooter. Or like, who is this for? There's other extraction shooters out there, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm so super excited about Marathon, but nobody knows anything about Marathon. The only thing they are excited about is that in your head right now, you know that Destiny is making, or I should say, sorry, Bungie, who made Destiny, is making Marathon. And everyone knows how much they love the gameplay, the gun ability in Destiny. Just like people talk about how the gunplay is so great in Call of Duty, that's why they keep going back to it. They love the gameplay of the gun mechanics inside Destiny. It feels just so good. So from that alone, they're like, Bungie made Halo. Bungie made Destiny. They have good shooting mechanics. This is going to be awesome. And that is the only thing that's making this game excited for right now, with no proof of anything. Okay? So it was revealed in May of 2023, but reimagined an extraction shooter in which players compete for survival, riches, and renown for the world-evolving present zones. Okay? It's also the entirely PvP experience with no single-player campaign. In March of 2024, the game director was replaced by Joe Ziegler, who had formerly worked on on Valorant. In April 2024, Chris Barrett, the former director of Marathon, left Bungie, reportedly in inappropriate behavior towards female employees. Barrett has previously worked on Destiny 2's Laundered Forsaken expansion. In October of 2023, Bungie made a round of layoffs and delayed at least release of Destiny 2's The Final Shape expansion for Marathon, which is now slated for 2025. And in July of this year, Bungie made a bigger waves of cuts of firing 220 people, including many veterans amongst them, 17% of the workforce, and Pete Parson called a necessary decision to refocus on the studios and our business with the most realistic goals and viable financial. Okay, so as you expect, in the wake of major layoffs, there's also been plenty of reporting around the morale of Bungie, and none of this has been good. There have been murmurs of Marathon as a project is not in a great place. On August 9th, Bloomberg reported that Jason Schreier told the Friends Per Second podcast that Marathon's sentiment is not great. There's a reason to slip a whole year, and some developers don't even think that it'll even hit in its current deadline. Okay? But I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure now that Concord went nuclear, I'm sure that Sony and Bungie didn't get together and talk about, well, what the hell are we going to do about our next live service game that's coming out? You guys are fine, right? I'm sure everything's good. I'm sure there's no one's raising any kind of alarms or anything. Okay? I joke. Okay? A source I spoke to confirmed that the game has been substantially scope changed since the announcement and was skeptical about its chances. They added that Marathon had been multiple senior departures even before Barrett's removal. And now this is the wake of what's happening with Concord. Some of the worried about it will mean for Marathon. He continues by saying, even also seen reporting from multiple outlets that if Bungie misses financial targets by too wide of a margin, Sony has the right to dissolve the current board and take full control. Oh, that's going to happen. Okay. Given the turbulence around Bungie, which includes The Final Shape missing its financial goals despite being universally acclaimed, it would also be little wonder if Sony took very hands-on approach with the studio it bought for $3.6 billion in January of 2022. You can also imagine that the failure of Concord is also a live service game, also a PvP only, and also in development for many years has severely spooked Sony. Look, there's a lot of stuff that's happened in Sony that people kind of overglance, right? They stopped the development or postponed the development of the DLC co-op of Spider-Man. They stopped factions from The Last of Us. They're having problems with Marathon. Concord went down the toilet super fast, right? Remember, they had 6 games that they were focusing on for that out of that 12 games of a live service stuff that we talked about like last year in like November. And I said, I hope the quality of these games doesn't diminish the first-party titles, okay, for these live service ones. And the live service ones, if they were working on 6, Helldivers was 1, Foam Stars was 2, Concord is 3, okay? Then you have Marathon is 4, Factions was 5, and what do we got? We got, what was the last one I just said? That was 6. Well, that's canceled. That one got moved. That one got put out the door. So Sony right now should be probably in a little bit of a bad mood because they're like, well, what are we doing? What are we doing with these live service? What are we doing with these, these things that were supposed to land and be good? They're all having problems behind the scenes. And Concord, I think, has shaken the foundation really a lot now because of what's happened to it. Not to say that Marathon's going to come out and it's going to be like Concord, okay? Obviously, you got to judge each game on its own. But the business structure is a little shaky right now, right? Is a little shaky. So it says the pandemic effect. Let's put the chaos surrounding Bungie and Destiny 2 to the side to imagine Marathon arrives next year and a solid take on extraction shooter. Would it be enough to pull that kind of numbers that Bungie needs? Escape from Tarkov, the dominant force in the genre, exploded in May of 2020 after a major update, a wipe of Tarkov's terms, concurrence according to Battlestate Games, COO, okay? And here's the thing, trend chasing. Bungie was trend chasing because they saw Tarkov, so they started making Marathon, okay? So now it's changed, right? That's 2020. We're in 2024 now, going into 2025. It's 5 years after Tarkov, okay? Is it going to land? Is it going to be good? I don't know, right? It all depends on them and how they make a game, sell a game, or give a game right? Make a game, give a game, because it's all free to play. Okay. We should be noted, though, that in mid-2020 was pretty much the height of COVID-19 pandemic, and it was a time for multiplayer games saw a huge boost in activity from people being stuck at home in front of the PCs, and was also a period of which many studios placed big bets in expanding the greenlighting of new projects. It's also failed that had led to layoffs across the game development in the last couple of years. Although we can't know for sure if work on Marathon began, the fact is that the extraction shooter have all succeeded, or suggest that Bungie saw the success of Tarkov and banked on the genre continuing to Metacritic growth, right? And that's the problem. Just like Concord jumped on the bandwagon for Overwatch, now Marathon's jumping on the bandwagon for Tarkov. Okay, and this will all go into a conversation later in the next topic. Okay, but jump back to present day, and although the extraction shooter has established subgenre, propping up for a few successful games, it's not a battle royale big. But even problematically for Bungie, large parts of Destiny 2 fan base, which ought to be Bungie's easiest demographic to target, are actively vocally hostile towards Marathon to the point of openly waiting to see it fail. Okay, well, the people that played Destiny, most of the people were PvE. Not to say there wasn't a lot of PvP players, but they stopped supporting PvP inside of Bungie. Okay, inside of Destiny 2. Like, Destiny 1 was bigger in the PvP scene than Destiny 2. Okay, because they stopped supporting it. They pushed it out. They made the problem and they tried to sell you the solution. This is the selling part. Okay, make the problem. PvP over here is not as good. Well, let's make other ones that are better, right? To bring those people over here so we can monetize them a little bit more. Okay, well, now here you are. Okay, so those players resisting is that over the last few years, resources and talent have also been siphoned away from Destiny 2 to fund just Marathon, but multiple other incubation projects at Bungie discovering how much talent has been drained off and really stuck its players' claws, particularly given that Bungie had previously claimed it simply didn't even have the manpower to create the stuff basic on new seasonal armor sets and PvP maps, leading to predictable uproar followed by pancaked roaring back, okay? Or panicked roaring back, sorry. The combined with the difficulty launching of the new live service game in such an oversaturated market that leaves us struggling, it's also seeds scenarios in which Marathon is a savior for Bungie now needs, which I think puts a lot more pressure on Bungie and Marathon itself, because now you have that Bungie needs a hit. Bungie needs to come back from this. Bungie needs that win that Destiny didn't, it fluttered out at the end. Then you have Concord, who now just imploded on itself in 10 days, and they don't know what to do. And now there's already murmurs going back and forth with Marathon internally that they're not excited about this. And we just read an article, last week about Greedfall 2 people, murmurs of that they didn't feel right. They don't want to put their names on the project because they feel like the studio is changing directions and they're doing certain things. And they're like, I don't want to put my name on this. And they're going on strike. And yet you have murmurs happening now with inside Bungie that they don't like this. They don't like the changes. They don't like where it's going. They're not confident in this. We've heard this before. The developers didn't like Redfall. Okay, but yet they continued pushing Redfall out the door, and that was a ZeniMax Bethesda thing before Microsoft picked it up. Well, this was a Bungie thing before Sony picked them up, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Marathon going forward. But if there's one studio that does seem to do the best work from the stress position is Bungie. Is it, though? Okay, I love the feel of the gunplay and tune for many thousands of hours logged into Destiny 2, and frankly, I go into every new game hoping to succeed. But if I worry that Sony was also picking up the tab for what just happened with Concord, particularly with Destiny 2, bleeding players in the aftermath and final shape, well, we might have a very difficult conversation about what is done with Marathon. So, this is going to be interesting to see what happens with Marathon. Again, Marathon got pushed back. It's delayed already, even though it didn't have a date, but it was supposed to come out this year. Okay, or murmurs of it was supposed to come out, but then it got changed and moved, and it's almost like the start of Destiny 1 again, right? Destiny 1 was a completely different game before it launched, and then they changed it within 13 months, put it out, and then fixed it over the next 3 years. And then by the end of Destiny 1's life cycle, before Destiny 2, Destiny 1 was in a really good spot, but at that point, it was 13 months in development, and then they had 4 years to fix it, which is a grand total of 5 years, okay? So I don't know if Marathon's going to have the leadway of what that. Sure, they have goodwill because people like Bungie, people like Destiny 2. So maybe they'll give it a bit more leniency than Concord, but who knows? We'll see what happens when Marathon comes out, and when it comes out, because there's murmurs of that it could get canceled, it could be delayed even more and pushed back. But These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below in the live stream. If you like what I do here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member. If you like what I do, check out some of our other videos on this channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. All right, let me go back up, scroll back up here, and see what you guys are talking about. Let's see. Ron Slusher says, cancel the Boston Marathon. Jason says, Astrobot looking like game of the year. Looking like game of the year because of the scores? Is that what you're just going based off scores? Eclipse says, Marathon is not going to do good. I know a lot of Destiny people, and none of them are looking forward to that game. Yeah, that's because it's PvP. Just PvP. Krebsy says the free beta for Concord peaked at around 2.8K. Concord got written off before launch, making the dead before arrival. It was something that next impossible to recover from. Correct, and that's why I said when I was talking about Concord, I said if they didn't put that $40 price tag ahead of time after they announced it, because people were warning, is it free to play? Is it $40? They said $40. That was dead on arrival as soon as they said $40. Xbox hasn't had a worthwhile exclusive since 360. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. The Forza Horizon series is very popular on Xbox. Very popular. That's one game. That right there already proves, you know, false right there. Sarge says, underperform incoming. $68 for Starfield, $35 for Redfall, and $50 for Hellblade. Do I have to fact check this? Do I have to fact check this, Travis? Should I just let you go by and pretend that that's the score of those things? Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah, no, Starfield 83. Starfield 83. Okay. Let's see Redfall. You might be right on Redfall. Let me see. Redfall 56. Nope, you said 35. No, that's not right. And Hellblade 50, you said, right? Yeah, it's an 81. An 81. So, yeah, it's official. Travis is full of shit. Foam Stars is Square Enix. Chris, we're talking about games that they're putting out as live service games. Not just first-party games. Just talking about live service games that they're putting out there. They're fundamentally putting money into to get out on that platform. Foam Stars is not on other platforms, right? It's a Square Enix game exclusive for PlayStation and PC. Foam Stars is not on Xbox. Dark Taco says, Marathon could be really good for the casual extraction shooter. I don't think those words go together, Taco. Casual extraction shooter players? I want to play them, but I hate Tarkov. How it feels and how sweaty of Bungie first-person shooter gunplay is still king. Right, but that's why you're excited for Marathon. The gunplay of Bungie and the gunplay of Destiny. Chris says, Escape from Tarkov shouldn't be compared since PlayStation has its own console ecosystem and isn't just competing with the PC games. PC market is more saturated with competition compared to console. Then why did Concord fail? Why did Concord fail? Krebsy says, I think Marathon is fucked because it's not getting the numbers of resources. It should also be numbered of projects Bungie had in development and seamlessly got shelved, meaning resources wasted. Right? Dark Taco says, it's funny because whenever Bungie needs a hit at dire times, it's always do. Forsaken, Witch Queen, and Final Shape. Well, Final Shape came out and still underperformed. So they didn't hit it. It still was under the numbers they needed. All right, I'm scrolling down here. Let me see what you guys are saying. Ron's just talking a bunch of crap. Krebsy says, here at Bungie, we ignore the thing making us money and spend majority of the resources like idiots because CFO is just recommendation, right? Dark Taco says, Square isn't looking great at all. Travis and Sony executives back blew up in their faces, and they're lost money on Final Fantasy 16, like everything else, right? And that's why they're moving over to Xbox, because they want to make more money, because not enough sales are happening on PlayStation, right? The people that, again, I generalize this, the Sony ponies that say that the other people don't buy games, those people are not buying games on their own platform, hence why those games have to go to other platforms to make money. Oh, for God's sakes. Did he really say user scores? Did he really say user scores? Do I have to fact check you? Do I got to fact check you again on that? Because just the user score for Hellblade, it's a 7.4 out of 10, which you said it was wrong anyway. It's freaking amazing. Hilly, thank you very much for the 8-month support, man. Appreciate you. I like that little thing that it shows. Oh, I'm sorry. I like the little thing that it shows over here. Little badge that shows up. Sarge says casual extraction shooter equals noobs. Yeah, Marathon, I don't think anyone was asking for the hero shooter, and you can see a lot of hero shooters are not making it. I think the problem with the hero shooter, and now they switched to an extraction shooter, I don't think that's going to be very good, very popular. I shouldn't say very good. The game could be good. I just don't think the market's there for that. Dark Taco says, so many boomers are excited for Marathon. It was a lot of people's first shooter. If you say so. I don't see a lot of hype happening for Marathon, but I'll take your word for it. James says Destiny players get mad when they get screwed on perks grinding for a roll on one gun. Now I imagine you'll finally get a gun to Marathon just to get picked off and lose everything. That's right, James. That's right. They're gonna be like, wow, the gunplay feels so good. It feels so. I'm in this game for an hour and a half. What the fuck? What the fuck? You just took my gun? Yeah, fuck this shit. Thank God it's free. And they're gone. They're gone. Watching Asma and his chat react to Marathon was eye-opening. So many people are interested in the IP. Okay. Okay. I will sit back and wait and see. Okay. Well, we'll see. Like, I'm not saying, obviously, it's not going to sell because it's free to play. So, lots of people have to pay lots of microtransactions. So, I hope they got a lot of good stuff going on. Chris says, people are more negative today and go on campaigns against these things. Don't like using social media to help turn others or maybe interested away while monetizing their hate. PS is being weak. I said 38 for Redfall. I think 68 for Starfield, which is correct. Here's the thing, though, Travis. When you post something, you didn't put user score. You said the thing, right? So what place are you going to look up your thing? Let me ask specifically, what site are you going to look up your score? Because I can go up to another score, to another site, and see what those scores are. See, you can always take something to use it towards your advantage. Okay. Metacritic on user score. Well, you forgot points and you forgot user score. Neutralizer says, just like Mitt Romney's 47%, there will be a threshold of Bungie fans that will play Marathon no matter what. Absolutely. You're 100% correct there. In no universe will Marathon be the same conversation as Concord in terms of players. And I agree with that as well. And that's why I said financially, will it be successful? Right? The player base, Bungie, people play Call of Duty. We had a conversation in chat the other day. People play Call of Duty. It doesn't matter what Call of Duty it is. They'll play it because they love the gunplay. People play Bungie games because they love Bungie or they love the gunplay. Right? They have the goodwill built up. They're like, well, they made Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. That gunplay was amazing. I'm going to play Marathon. Pepsi says, Marathon was always an extraction shooter. It switched to a hero shooter in the reference to user's character going from custom 1. Oh, so it was a hero shooter? No, it was an extraction and then it turned into a hero extraction? Is that what it is? Or it was a hero and then it turned to extraction? Still be an extraction, but now it's a hero extraction. Akuda Papa says, yeah, it's using the user score, which were heavily review bombed during that time and still being review bombed. It's funny. And then go to Astrobot, which is being propped up. Look, this is why I don't look. This is why I don't look at reviews. The only reason we bring up review scores on this channel is because it's a talking point to have conversation. But to look at that and go, this is it. Obviously, a game could be a 99, and I might not play it because not my type of game, right? So I don't care. A game could be a 46, and I play it, and I go, yeah, I had fun with it, and I liked it, right? People, look, everyone can say that everyone looks at review scores, okay, but a very small section of the population on planet Earth look at review scores to make a decision if they're going to buy it or not, because this is the way it works, okay? If you look at a game that sold 7 million copies, and then you look at the thing and they only have 12,000 reviews, or, even 1 million reviews, okay, which you never see, okay, that would be more convincing that everyone cares about reviews, right? Most people don't leave reviews. Most people don't care about reviews. There is a portion that do. And even when a review comes out and people don't like the review, they look at it because they like the game. They want to get the game. They see someone talking about the game and they say it's shit. That person is still going to go, well, I'm going to buy it anyway because I like it. That's how it works. Waterbear says, this is facts. When Rival drops, 95% of the player of PvP-based hero shooters are dead. Marvel is well-known superhero IP. Imagine the skins, microtransactions they can produce. We'll see what happens with that game. It'll be very interesting. I think that game could be super popular and stay popular, or it could be super popular and die off real fast. It all depends, Water. Marvel's IPs, look at the games. Marvel Future Revolution came and went. Marvel's Avengers came and went. Lots of games come and go with Marvel's brand on it, right? They closed Marvel's Omega Heroes. Argus says it's going to be a shit show. PC players will, for a short time, play it because it's new. drop it and spit on it. The console players do like those types of games, so don't expect Marathon to do well. We'll see. Ron says Anthem has really good user scores. Yeah, a 4.0. Yeah. But see, Travis likes that, but he doesn't care about that 4.0 because he likes that game. Right? Right? Do you like that game, Travis? I know you liked Anthem. Right? So does it matter that it has a 4.0? Dark Taco says you need to take both the user and critic score into account. So many users give honorable reviews. The game ran at 12 frames per second. Right. 2024 is this game is dog water. Right. It's hot or cold. I said this with movie reviews. When you get the average score of the consumers and the critics, and then you split it, and then that's what the roundabout score is of the movie. Right? Even with all the bombs that do review bombs and all the people that hype bomb it, right? A hype bomb and a review bomb, okay, you still get midpoint in between. No, the user scores right now for Astrobot. Astrobot's not out yet. It's all review from outlets. And we'll go over that in a bit. Fragpunk looks interesting, Vandal, because it's doing something different, right? It's got like a card-based system inside the game, right? It's a arena shooter or a hero shooter, but it's got cards. So it's trying to do something different. Right? Like right now, Hellblade, based on the scores of 81 and the critic scores of 7.4, which is really a 74, if you split it, it's around a 77.5 or 78, right? That's what it is. That's the way I would look at a review score if I looked at reviews. Okay? Same thing with if you look at like a Starfield or anything else. Any game, doesn't matter what it is. You look at the reviews, you look at the reviewer, the outlets, and you look at everybody else. Why isn't it taping? Fuck's sake. Yeah, so an 83 and a 68, it's like a 75, right? And that's what it is, right? And then someone's going to be like, well, that's a bad game, right? That's a bad game. But another game that gets a 75 that you like, well, I don't give a shit what the people say because I like it, right? What are you using here? Are you using review scores or are you not using review scores? Or are we just going to keep moving that? It's like a game gets a good score. Everyone's like, yeah, I love it, right? Or if you hate that game, Elden Ring gets a good score and someone goes, oh, it's a fucking shit game, right? Or you play a shit game and it gets bad review score and you're like, well, I fucking love it. Like, pick a side. Pick a fucking side. Oh, you want me to move the goalpost? We got to move it. All right. We're moving goalposts. right, let me see what you guys are saying. What am I looking at here? Argus is talking to Jones. James says, I look over for some reviews for general consensus, but I don't give a crap about them at the end of the day. Right. But that is reality, James, right? You're anybody is just looking for anybody else to look for agreements with them. They're like, I want to drink this glass of water. You shouldn't drink this glass of water. Someone goes, yeah, it's okay to drink it. I'm like, all right, cool. Someone said it was okay to drink it, so I'm going to drink it. Right? You're looking for anybody to go, yeah, well, they like it, so I'll probably like it too. Right? That's reality. People don't look at reviews and be like, well, that's it. They said it, right? You know what you like as a gamer. If you like side scrollers and then the person that's playing or reviewing the side scroller game doesn't play side scrollers or doesn't play open world games or doesn't play survival games and they're like, well, I didn't really like this. You're like, that sounds awesome. I'm going to play it, right? That's how reality works. It's a thermometer, right? It's a thermometer. All right. So the next topic I want to talk about is Star Wars Outlaws. Okay. Now, I have talked about Star Wars Outlaws in good light with bad problems. Okay. And the people that like to defend it, okay, as we say trash nights in our channel, okay, people that like to defend it saying, oh, there's nothing wrong. I like it. I like it. I like it. Then we get articles like this coming from the actual game director itself. And if the game was perfect, then why would you vow to improve the game? Right? Why would you say in two separate articles, okay, never going to stop improving it, right? We're going to improve the game. That's because there's problems with the game. Imagine someone playing the game and giving criticism where criticism's needed for the game, and then the developer going, yeah, we fucked up there. We're going to have to fix it. Now, I haven't read the article. Just off the thing alone, it's quoted as vows to improve the game, okay? So that is what we talk about. I am a very honest person. There is no bullshit here with me, okay? I will tell you if a game is, everyone's like, it's a shit game, I will play it and tell you, yeah, there's shit aspects of this game, but it's not a shit game. Star Wars Outlaws in no way, shape, or form is a bad game. It's just a good game. And a good game doesn't mean bad game. It means it's a good game. Doesn't mean it's a great game. Doesn't mean it's an excellent game. It just means it's a good game. It's got bad mechanics inside of its good game, but the other stuff that's in the game rises it up to make it a good game. Okay, if it wasn't for the detail of the worlds, if it wasn't for all the other stuff that they've done fundamentally in the game and make it feel like a Star Wars game, then it would be a bad game. Okay, but because they do so many good things in the game that the shitty parts of the game bring it down, okay, but they don't wreck the game completely because of all this other good stuff that they've done in the game. So, if you like what I do here, we read articles, we have conversations in chat. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5, okay? Let me see what you guys are saying real fast. Every mechanic is made just in the middle. Not bad, also not good. Right. It's like they didn't complete it, right? Krebsy says, you're a baby bird, and you get fed from Mama Bird, Microsoft through Game Pass. You don't have a decision what Mama Bird feeds you, a.k.a. Microsoft puts a game on Game Pass. You also chirp when talks caps. Oh, you're talking to Bo. Okay. You guys are talking there. I feel like game reviews, James says, I feel like game reviews are being used as weapons now instead of judging how the game actually is, especially in today's rage bait social media environment. You could say either way, right? Because you could say that they're being used to rage bait people because there are people making content off of that. But then they're also used for just talking points. We use it for talking points. I hate people that bring up that they're like, well, the game is this. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not popular, right? Because it scores a 90 or 96 and sells 2 million copies or 3 million copies, sure, it's successful, right? But as a gamer, I don't give a shit if it's successful or not successful. All I care about is it a good game or bad game, and then if I enjoyed it, right? So there's games that sell 10 million copies, and everyone says it's a trash game. Starfield. Okay, there's games that sell 10 million copies, and everyone says, "Well, it's a shit game," or a great game, and it is because they sell 10 million copies. There's games that are great games that sell 3 million copies, and there's great games that sell 12 million copies. So it's all over the place. At the end of the day, when we talk about in the context of whatever we're talking about, that's what's the matter. That's the point. So if we bring up a review score in the context that we're talking about, it's pertinent. If it's not in context, well, then people could just throw out numbers like Travis did and say, well, Starfield's this. Well, I meant user score. Well, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, it sold this amount. You might shit on Palworld, and Palworld might not get good review numbers, okay? But at the end of the day, they sold 23 million copies. You know what I mean? So you're correct, James. It is used to rage bait people. But at the same time, it's also used for actual contextual conversation. Like here, perfect example. I just read an article that Lord of the Rings Return to Moria that just came on Xbox, okay? It's been out on PC and PlayStation for almost a year now. They've done a lot of big updates. It just came out. It just came out for Xbox, right? Now there's articles being written that it's exploding on Xbox. Lots of sales on Xbox because of it, right? Well, there's a lot of context behind that. The context is, well, it's selling well. We don't know what that number is, but it's like high up on the charts, okay? But it's also $20. It's a $20 game, okay? It's not a $40. It's not a $60. It's not a $70. They're not selling extra things for $110. It's just a $20 game. And it's popular because people are buying it and playing it, okay? Now, again, we don't know the actual sales numbers, but they tell you that it's the #1 selling game this last week or whatever. We don't know what those sales are, but the context of it is there's a lot of people playing the game. Now, what is that? Is that 10,000? Is it 100,000 people? Is it 1 million people? We have no idea. We have no idea. Kylo says, COD shits every year, and it's always the top-selling games of the year. Yeah, Madden Football, greatest NFL game every single year. Because it's the only one. But they'll put it out there, right? #1 football game this year. Well, that's because you're the only one with the NFL tag on it. Jay Breezy says, I would say Outlaws is janky. I'm doing the stealth moves, for example. If I do from staircases, it's slanted so the screen looks diagonal. But hey, it's funny. Look, this is the analogy I'll put, Jay, right? My grass is pristine, right? I don't know if you've been here when I say this analogy. My grass looks pristine, right? Now, those of you that maintain grass, if you're a homeowner and stuff like that, you look at your grass and you're like, it looks beautiful. But you, the person that's taking care of the grass, when someone looks at it and says, oh, you have a nice lawn, you know that you really don't have a nice lawn because you are looking at it. You know the ups and downs. You know what insects are eating or breaking down your grass and who's fucking with it, the bugs in the thing, right? If you look hard enough, you'll find something wrong with your pristine grass from afar, but you know there's problems, but it still looks beautiful, right? That's what video games are. Video games are the people that want to look for bugs, people that want to look for problems in video games. You will 1000% always find bugs and problems inside your video game. Okay? But people that really don't try to look for it and they just look at the grass, they just look at the video game and they have fun. Right? Kids just play in the grass. They don't care. James says, classic, overly analyzing your stuff to find out it's the worst for it below the surface. Right. You're like, oh my God, there's things. I gotta do this. We got these bugs and these bugs. It's like, it looks great. Just leave it. Mo says, isn't that what games are for? To have fun? Yes, they are. But then it comes down to it, Mo, that certain people want to have fun, okay, but their immersion gets broke. just like video games, right? Just like movies, just like books. You pay for a book, you start reading through the book, and the writing is just terrible. And you're like, oh, this is not worth the price I paid. You watch a movie, and you're like, this movie sucks. This is not worth the money I paid. Video games, this is a fun game, but it's not worth the $70. It's worth $50 or $40. Okay? So, yes, you can have fun, but at the same time, you can have fun and criticize stuff. Hence, look at the board. Star Wars Outlaws Director, a little disappointed in the review scores, but vows to approve the game, meaning there's problems with the game that they have to fix. Now, if they made a game and sold a game where they weren't selling season passes and put all the stuff in later, then maybe they would have finished the game and put it out there as complete. But they didn't. They put it out there because, well, they were done with it up to this point and see if anyone complains, and they put it out there. I'm having fun, but I can also know that there's problems with the game. And they do too, hence why we're going to read this article. Okay? East Vandal says, exactly, Mike. One of the reasons I hate Digital Foundry is they literally suck the fun out of gaming. Right. That's why I don't really watch them and go, when someone tells me that it drops below 60 frames and it's 57 point whatever or whatnot, I'm like, okay, I mean, if you want to do that, cool, analyze that and stuff, but 99.9% of the people don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Papa says, third, this is why I dislike people talking to the scorers in the media, and the people went to loom the problems in Starfield. But anytime it's a Sony game, look at the grass. Right. Find that, get that microscope out. Right. That's right, Mo. Game Pass. Which also goes to a different conversation, though, Mo. Right. If they make the problem, they're selling you the solution. So if a game is broke, buggy, unfinished, and you pay $70, $100, $130 for, there's a problem. But if you take that same game and you're paying $20 a month, there's a big difference, right? If I paid $130, right? I just talked to Travis yesterday. There's no regret, right? I have no regrets. But if I paid $130 for a game and the game is not complete, or they're gonna fix it over time, I'm gonna be upset. Okay? Hence why I paid $18 for Outlaws, because that's what they want me to pay. Okay? And that's why I'm not upset. Because for $18, I'm having a hell of a time, and the value is fantastic. Right, here's the thing. You want to know how much Star Wars Outlaws should have been? I talked to Travis yesterday in Discord about this. Okay? You know how much they're okay selling Outlaws for? $52. $52. Okay? How did I come across that number? Well, they're selling 2 DLCs and the game. Okay? You can get the game right now for $18 to play for the month. Right? $18. Then they come out with Season 1. You cancel it, you come back, you pay $18 to pay the DLC. That is 18 plus 18. That's $36. Okay? Then you come back for the last season pass, and you get the $18. You play the game, you finish the game, and now you spend a grand total of $52. Okay? $52. That is what Ubisoft, okay? That's, or 54, it's not 52, it's $54. Sorry. 54. Okay? That is what they're okay with for selling Outlaws at. Okay? $54 is what they're okay selling it for, and they're still making a profit off that. Okay? They're still making a profit off that. Because what comes along with that is, if they stay on Ubisoft Plus and they buy it and cancel it, buy it and cancel it, buy it and cancel it, we're still making $54 off of those people, and that is still profitable for that game. Now, if they don't cancel it, then we're getting an additional $18 in between the DLC is dropping. Okay, which is probably 2 months. Okay, and that is how they look at it. So when they go on sale and they give it and they drop it, okay, from 70, and they go, oh, we're giving it to you for $50, they're still making money off of that. If they drop it to 45, they're still making money off of that. Do you know why? Because it's digital. Okay, they're not shipping out a disc. They're not putting it in a container. They're not doing anything. They're still making money off of that piece of product. Okay, so when people come out and spend $120, $130 on their game, they're like, fantastic, because that even helps us even more, because when someone pays $130 for that game, okay, and there's people like me only paying $18 for that game, it offsets, and that's how they do it. They're okay giving it away for $54. Krebs says, well, the problem is that it's not every game should be $70. $70 premium. Not all products are premium. Well, it's also the eye of the beholder, if they feel like that is what it's worth to that person. Mo says, an Atlas Fallen ain't a bad game. I haven't had a great time in multiplayer with my son, but it's on the back burner because of the First Descendant and NBA 2K5. I would say that the bad game or good game doesn't really matter. Was it a successful game for them? No. Those are facts, right? Now, was it not successful because it was a bad game? Potentially, yeah, because there was other games that were more interesting, and it failed as a product during that time frame of going up against other games, okay? But the game itself might not be a bad game. East Vandal says, I like to buy my games, though, 30. Even though I live in Blockbuster most of my gaming life, make it make sense. Game Pass is the best value in gaming, period. The thing is, even if you own a disc now, Vandal, right? Again, me and Travis had a conversation back and forth yesterday. He said it in yesterday, and I'm calling him back out, but he said yesterday in chat, adults buy games, children don't. He says he likes to buy his games because he's supporting the company, okay? And I said, am I not supporting the company? They offered an $18 version of that same game that you paid $120 for. Am I not supporting them? Of course I'm supporting them, right? Are you better because you support it more because you paid for the full price game? His version and my version are the exact same. At the end of the day, he doesn't own that game. We know that because I own Battleborn. It's on disc. It doesn't work anymore, right? There's people that own Marvel's Avengers or can't get Marvel's Avengers because they can't get that game anymore. Sure, you can have the disc, put it in and play it, but there's games out there that you don't own. At any time they pull that server down, you're done. Okay? You can't play it. And that's a completely different conversation. Game Pass is the best value for gaming, but it also hurts gaming because when you look at games and go, why am I going to pay $70 when I can pay $18? Right? Why am I going to pay $120 when I can pay $18? I mean, people still buy NBA 2K. So if they still buying that, there's no hope that microtransactions will end. I wonder how much 2K makes from it. Oh, they make so much. They make so much. And then they try to double dip and triple dip by putting ads inside the game itself. Right? Waterbear says, Game Pass is great for those who want access to multiplayer games without paying full price for the game, which is fine. And if they have kids, these types of applications are godsend. Absolutely. He says, 30 definitely support Starfield more than me because he played the hell out of it. And that's what we do to support our games. Right. Play what you play. Right. I'm not in any kind of war when someone comes in and says, well, this game's unsuccessful. Well, it's factually false because Starfield was successful. Right. I don't know what value they have for success compared to what they had for success, right? But the person playing is completely different than the company. The company had success with it, right? And that goes for any game that someone likes or dislikes. But the overall picture of the game is successful because it sold a certain amount of copies for the company. Oh yeah, GameFly on live, GameFly. There's a whole bunch of stuff that was out there back in the day. That's how I played Mass Effect 2 for the first time. Mass Effect 1 and 2, I rented from GameFly. Okay? I rented from GameFly. And then I liked it so much, I purchased it. Because I wanted to own it. Did I not support the company? All right, let me read this. Let me read this thing, right? Let's get on topic with Star Wars. Let me back out real fast. And then go back so I know where to cut. Okay. so I can do the time code later. All right, so Star Wars Outlaws Director, a little disappointed by review scores and vows to improve the game. Now, if you guys like my content, we read articles. I give you my thoughts and opinions as we read the article. I've never read it before. I'm reading it first time with you guys on chat, give you my thoughts and opinions. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do live streams. We do uploads. We do a podcast on Thursday nights called Generation X Gaming. You can join me and my brother as we talk about games and we rant along the way. All right, so Star Wars Outlaws director Julian has admitted that being a little disappointed in the Ubisoft's game review scores, but is committed to making it better. Okay. Now, is he talking about making the score better, or is he making the game better? Either way, I think you have to do one to make the other. Okay. He says, Games Radar, Star Wars Outlaws, which earned a 7 out of 10 in IGN's review, currently sits at 76 out of 100 on Metacritic. Brought him to the team to a level of pride, happiness, and severe accomplishment, but still wanted to better critical reception. So he says, quote, I'm a little disappointed in the Metacritic. He says, but of course, recognition from the press is critics is very important to us, but players are really connecting with it, what we did. Okay. So let's go look real fast. Let me go to Metacritic real fast. That's Open Critic. Let me go to Metacritic. Let's look up what Star Wars has got going on right now. Star Wars Outlaws. All right, so Star Wars Outlaws is 56 or 76, and it's a 5.3 by the mixed scores, right? So that's our baseline right now. So it's around a 60, what'd you say, about a 60, 76 and a 53, so like a 68, right? Like a 65, 68, okay? So a little disappointed, he says, but it's very important to us, but players are really connecting with what we did, right? Now, based off Metacritic, he's looking at they really connected. So he likes the people that are playing the game and enjoy it. He says, we continue. It's brought to me so much joy to see incredible images being captured and shared. And I think we prove that proof positive that is an experience like no other Star Wars experience before. That's, let's say, a step into the world and enjoy some virtual tourism. Okay, Star Wars Outlaws is the very first open world Star Wars game and already has a season pass announced, making post-launch support inevitable. But Julian also seems eager to add the experience beyond that. He says, this will be a game that millions of players are going to play for years and years, and we're never going to stop improving it, he said. Well, that's a lie. We'll probably stop improving it. But today, my mind is not stopping improving it. Okay, it's ultimately be up to the Ubisoft how much time is spent on Star Wars Outlaws, of course, and the publisher has already faced criticism for some of the fans that the practices surrounding the game. Okay, it says it was the latest example of the industry-wide movement to charge a minimum of $110 for those looking to play on August 27, 2024 release date, with those only willing to spend the standard of $70 forced to wait until August 30th to get started. Those who did paid more and didn't have all the smooth experience either, as some of the PlayStation 5 players were forced to restart their games following the last-minute update and only received middling compensation from Ubisoft as an apology. Well, you made your bed, so you got to lay in it, right? If you support game companies and pay $30 extra to play 3 days early access, and you want to justify that in some way, shape, or form, I mean, you're doing it to yourselves, right? If you don't want that to happen, then stop pre-ordering, and stop paying extra now for 3-day early access. The aforementioned season pass was also drawn criticism as alongside providing access to story expansions coming later. It looked away some content and was also otherwise ready to go at launch. Ubisoft shares and felt values following the release of Star Wars Outlaws, which is some analysts predicting that lower than expected sales of the game, and Ubisoft has yet to commit to the performance. Well, as of right now, we talked about it yesterday, the sales numbers are looking minuscule, right? They thought they were projecting 7.5 million units sold by March, and now they lowered that by 2 million projected-wise, okay? The stock is crashing right now for Ubisoft, and it's the lowest that it's been in a decade. Okay, so going back to what the article is saying, when he's talking about that they're going to keep it going, like he's saying that he wants to keep it going and improvement. They are going to make an improvements. I said while we played it, I said hopefully they make some quality of life fixes. Sarge on the podcast said don't make excuses for them. I said no, the game's already out. They have to make quality of life improvements now. It's not that they had to finish the game. Now the game is out. So yes, they have to finish the game, but they have to make quality of life fixes to make the game feel better over time, and they will do that, okay? Because it is a live service game, even though they tell you it's not really a live service game. When patches come in and they constantly make fixes, they're going to fix that. So they're going to fix the game over the next 8 to 12 months. And even if they stop supporting it, right, there's no difference between what Suicide Squad's doing and what Assassin's Creed's doing and what Star Wars is doing in any other game, right? There's a season pass in there. Space Marines 2 is out right now. People are paying full price for it, if not early access for it. And they're paying for a limited game. Even though you enjoy the game, factually, you're paying right now up front more money and then waiting 1 year for all that content to come into the game. Right now, you're paying Star Wars Outlaws. You're paying full price money to get all the content 1 year down the road. Suicide Squad, you paid full price money, okay, to wait a year to get all the season passes part of the game. That is the business model nowadays. Pay up front, give us more money, and wait to get that money. Where other people are like, no, I'm going to pay this subscription model, or I'm going to pay the standard price, and then if it's a good game, then I'll support you going forward, and then take that money that they could have spent on that game and they put it somewhere else. That is smart consumers. Everybody else, not saying you're not smart, but put 2 and 2 together. You're paying $120 for a game now, and you're waiting 12 months, okay, to get paid off from that, even though you're having fun. You can have fun, but know that you spending the money up front to wait 1 year to get the content is a bad consumer practice. And the business sees that and says, well, what else can we hide behind the thing? And they're just going to keep doing it more and more. Just like the free-to-play model, they're going to charge $90 for skins. The paid up-front model, they're going to try to tell you that the game, well, we have to raise the price to $70 because how are we going to afford everything? And then they make it $110 or $130, and then they want you to wait for the game to be complete 1 year from today. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below or in the live stream. If you like what I do here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. If you like our stuff, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Chris says you can deny the update or turn off the updates. What is that for, Chris? Did I miss something from above? Hold on. Let's see. Again, service are games that are always get brought up when discussing. Okay, so this is what you go to. Actually, let me go up to Kraken. In my opinion, Game Pass is the only worth it if you're playing a lot of games. If you're sub to only playing COD and you're flushing money down the toilet, absolutely. If you're playing Elder Scrolls Online and you're only playing that, or you're only playing Sea of Thieves, or you're only playing Forza, if you're only playing Halo, then Game Pass is not a good thing for you, right? Because you're paying monthly payments to play the game. If you want to play Forza, if you want to play Sea of Thieves, then just buy the game, right? That's a better business sense or consumer sense, I should say. If you're playing that one game, right? Like, why pay a monthly fee if you're playing one game? Chris says games as services are games that always get brought up when discussing owning the game. Most single-player games still have the data on the disc and can be played to completion without the internet. Sure. But then there's also games that are single-player games that are also taken off if they ever stop supporting it, meaning you have the disc, but then you can't play it. Battleborn was a MOBA and a single-player game. I can't play the single-player game. Let's see what other games. Devastation was delisted off the list, so you can't play that game unless you had the old system to play it on, right? Unless you have the physical disc, and sometimes those don't work, okay? So in this day and age, it's a very blurred line of what you own and what you don't own, because technically you own nothing, and Ubisoft even told it to our faces, said you got to get used to not owning your stuff, right? And this is an Ubisoft game we're talking about for Star Wars. And it's a license thing. So when Ubisoft's license runs out for Star Wars, then that game will no longer exist to work, right? Or it will be delisted. East Vandal says, Gamefly is still going $30 a month for 2 games, but Game Pass is too expensive. Make it make sense. Do they still mail the discs? Do they still mail the discs over? Akuta Papa says, Chris, not anymore. If you uninstall a game, if it's a single-player game, you're going to try to update it. It still says install there. Yeah, that's true. And then Chris said, you can deny the update and turn off auto-update. It won't check if you have the internet turned off also. But if the game is broke, then you have to hook it back up to get the download patch. So, for instance, Star Wars Outlaws, if you got the game 3-day early access and then you didn't want to update it because you want to put your disc, and you want to not update your stuff, then you would not be able to complete the game, from their own words, because they said if you don't update, then you will not be able to complete the game because it's a game-breaking bug. So then you would have to plug it back in and then choose to update the game. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to finish the game. That's your single-player game that you wouldn't be able to finish. All right, Papa, have a good one. Who am I saying this to, Mike? Anyone that wants to take it personally. Right? If you're a bad consumer and you're like, is he talking to me? Yes. If you don't think I'm talking to you, then I'm not talking to you. That's how that works. If you feel that I'm talking to you and you're like, is he calling me a bad consumer? If that's the way you're taking it, then yes. If you don't take offense to that, then don't worry about it. Let me see this other article from PC Gamer if they say something anything different. Yeah, we'll read this because it's a little different. A little different. Creature says, tell it, Mike. Offense is always taken. It's never given. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Come on, Creature. What the hell happened at... Did you guys get a dip? What time is it? It's 11:30. At like 11:08. Was there a dip that happened where like we got disconnected? I didn't even... Jesus. We lost 50 people, and then it popped right back up. That's crazy. But you understand, though, Chris, we live in the present day, not the past, right? And more games in the present day need internet connection. You need an internet connection to download the game. More games are coming out where you can't even buy a physical disc. You have to get the digital version. And even when they sell you a physical copy, there's a digital code inside the box. Right? So you are correct. There are games that it doesn't obtain to. But going forward, more games are what I'm saying than what you're saying. All right, so this next article is Star Wars Outlaws director confesses being a little disappointed with the Metacritic, but says it's never going to stop improving it. Okay. So again, different article from a different person, same type of story. Looks like there's a couple different things in here. I skimmed through it. Okay. So Star Wars Outlaws' title design is a lab to make money in order to insert colon into it. It's been out for under a week now. And you know what? It's pretty good. A solid 73% per PCG's Morgan Park in the Star Wars Outlaws review. It's similar score to other outlets' reviews, so it's also translated into the Metacritic score of 75 out of 100, and Xbox 76 on PlayStation, 77 on PC. Ubisoft would also like to be a little better. It seems that, yeah, they want to do a little better because they get bonuses at a certain percentage. In a chat with Games Radar, Outlaws creative director Julian confessed that being a little disappointed with the Metacritic. After all, it continues to recognition of the press and critics, and it's also important to us, but without the game setting in the charts on fire, he also reckons that players are really connecting with the game and what they did, right? And I think that is true. As I said before, the immersion, as a 46-year-old guy, okay, when I play this game, even though K-Vess is a character I really don't care about up to this point, okay, playing around in the Star Wars universe, but I've experienced this multiple times. I've experienced this multiple times over my years where I played Star Wars Galaxies and got to go to all the planets, right? Or I played the Old Republic, or I played Knights of the Old Republic, or I played, like, there's many different moments in Star Wars games where I was like, man, this feels good. I get to walk around the universe that I saw in movies. It's like that brings me back down to being a child and just enjoying my time inside the game, right? It says, it's brought to me much joy to see the incredible images being captured in Shard, which says to proof of the game's virtual tourism. All right, I don't really like the virtual tourism because I don't really buy a game to take pictures, but I get that there's a market there, right? I don't spend $70, which I did, and I paid $18, okay, for the month, right? But to pay $70 to be a virtual photographer, I'm good. Okay. He says, specifically called Outlaws, ludicrous detailed cities. It also want to leave luxurious eating sequences as highlights in the game, but also in the area. Tendencies to play things too safe. It'll be honest, a solid 80% of the reason I want to get my hands on this game is to take the holiday in the galaxy far, far away. And like I just said, it feels phenomenal when you're playing, if you are a Star Wars fan. If you're a gamer and you just want to play a game, you're going to be a little disappointed. But Outlaws didn't quite commit to its more daring, interesting aspects enough to push out the 70 range, which at least we forgot is not a bad score, but a review guide calls a game a 70 to 79 range a good game that's definitely worth playing. Around that, all the interest of Star Wars, Star Wars-y stuff is a lot of third-person action gameplay you also seen before. Advanced crouching, walking through the main quests, adhere to dodging or certain structural formulas. A good game, but not, a great one. Okay, so Julian says there is still a level of pride, happiness, and sense of accomplishment amongst the game devs, and quite right too. It's also reckons that the game has that millions of people are going to play it for years and years, and we're never going to stop improving it. Now, again, in that context, if Ubisoft says, yeah, it didn't make enough money, you got to stop making it, then they're going to stop making it. But up until that point, hopefully they make the fixes and changes of quality of life stuff. Like I said, that you should be taking other people's bikes. Not that I can upgrade it, but if I want to knock a guy off his speeder bike and jump on like Grand Theft Auto or Saints Row type of stuff, I should be able to do that in that game because it's just more immersive. It's like, we built this beautiful world, but you can't steal someone else's bike, right? You're a smuggler, but you can't steal things from people, right? Like, I can't shoot off the bike, okay? I can't take a gun and put it on my back that I picked up. I get that once you're out of bullets, you can drop it, but if I pick up the gun and shoot the guy, and then they drop the same bullets, maybe I can reload that instead of dropping that and picking their gun up. Like, little quality of life things would make it better where I'm not dropping that gun every 5 seconds, right? So we'll see what happens down the road. Okay, it says, well, probably stop improving it, but today, by my mind, is not stopping improving it, right? Sounds good to me. It says Outlaws gets a load of updates that double down on the parts that also makes it interesting. We could see it becoming a Watch Dogs 2 style favorite among Star Wars fans, and if not, it sounds like it provides a solid foundation for a great sequel. Hopefully it makes enough money and they change the ways. Now, I get that people look at it and say, well, how does Ubisoft, how does Massive make a game where they make Division 1 and Division 2, and they make Pandora, and they just fall short of like the cover-based type of stuff and the shooting mechanics? How do they, Ubisoft itself, that makes these stealth games, make this game where it's not good as stealth? But if we look at it as in a containment of, this is the first rendition of Star Wars open world Outlaws game. Okay, now here's the bar that they've set for it. If they make enough money, and if there's a sequel down the line like Jedi Fallen Order to Survivor, maybe they raise the bar and go, this is what we fucked up here, and they make it better. Sort of like what Red Dead 1 did to Red Dead 2, what Mass Effect 1 did to Mass Effect 2, right? When there's a game that does good, but there's bad mechanics in the game, but then they become better in the sequel, that's a potential down the road. These are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. Let me know what you guys think in the live chat. If you like what we do here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Appreciate you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Sarge says, yes, if you throw money at the wall, you're a bad consumer. This is why we continue to sell you shit. That is ridiculous. Yep, that's why there's $90 microtransaction skins. The game doesn't work. You can't get into that game, Spectre Divide. Okay, but you can pay $90 for the skins, and people do it, and they're like, this is what we made for. This is what we made it for. Billy Hijinks says Bethesda sold a disc that wasn't a disc. It was just a game money shared, but they kept the real money. Eclipse says this is why the new PlayStation 5 is rumored to have no disc. You have to buy the disc tray if you want to play on disc. Wait a minute. The new PlayStation 5 rumor is that it's not going to have a disc drive, and it's going to be $700? That's a bold move. Let's see how it pans out for him. Chris says the code instead of a disc is also an outlier, and Wukong will have a physical disc later. Well, that's another problem. That's another problem, right? The problem with that I see is that people that bought, what was the game that came out? Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2, people that wanted to buy the game, but they were forced to buy the digital version. And then only after a certain period of time, they said, oh, we're releasing Alan Wake 2, but now on disc. Now they're making people buy it a second time. That's pretty fucked up as well. That's a great consumer product there. Crowded House says it's forcing you to drop a weapon when you climb a ladder is intentionally designed. That's bizarre. Yeah, it's so weird. It's like I'm in a fight. I kill a guy. I pick up his weapon. I'm carrying the weapon. I get up to a ledge. Now, ledges, you can throw the gun up and then pull yourself up and pick the gun back up. And then throw it up on the next ledge, pull yourself up, and then pick up the gun. But you go up a ladder, you just throw the gun. You're just like, you start climbing the ladder. It's like, why can't I do this? Put it on my back, sling it around, something? I don't know. Come on, Sweat Dog. You mean Red Dead Revolver to Red Dead Redemption? No, I was talking about Red Dead 1 to Red Dead 2. What they did in Red Dead 1, they made better in Red Dead 2. Like, they made it bigger and better, right? Red Dead Revolver, yeah, that's night and day. Like, Grand Theft Auto top down to Grand Theft Auto 3 is like night and day. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Grand Theft Auto 3 to Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 4 to Grand Theft Auto 5, right? They set a bar, and then they hit that bar with the next game, and then they go above that bar, right? That's what I'm talking about. Right? So going from like top-down Grand Theft Auto to, 3D Grand Theft Auto, that's the new bar, right? Here's the old bar. They went, whoosh, this is the new standard. Grand Theft Auto now is a 3D game, okay? Then when San Andreas or Vice City came out, they're like, all right, we hit that bar. It's a 3D game, and then we added some more stuff with it, okay? And they added more stuff. Then that's the new bar. And then they came out and they said, oh, Vice City, and then they made San Andreas, and they made San Andreas, and then they upped it. Well, how do we outdo San Andreas? Well, we make Grand Theft Auto 4, where it's not as big a city, but it's graphically more intense, right? And you could do more physical and mechanic-wise inside the game. And they're like, well, how do we outdo that? Well, why don't we throw Grand Theft Auto 5 in it? We'll make 3 protagonists. We'll make a bigger map. We'll make better graphics. We'll do an online mode. Right? So now Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming, and they keep upping. They keep upping and keep competing with the bar that they've set for themselves. Not comparing it to other games, not comparing it to other things, just what they've created. Right? Fallen Order came out. Respawn made Fallen Order. Survivor came out, and they upped the ante. There was more things that you could do mechanically in the game. The story was a little bit better. The story maybe was a little bit longer, right? There was more things that you could do. They upped the ante against their own game. Mass Effect to 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Okay? Then they tried something with Mass Effect Andromeda, which they kind of outdid the bar, but they failed because there was stuff that they added to Mass Effect Andromeda that was worse than what they did in the other past games, okay? So everything's a swing and a miss type of thing, right? When you look at sequels, so looking at just Star Wars Outlaws for what it is, the base level of what it is, if they make enough money and they make an Outlaws 2, okay, K-Vest returns to us, how do they make it better? Maybe they don't improve this game now, but now they make Outlaws 2 where now you can pick up other guns. Now you can knock people off the bikes. Now you can, it's more like Grand Theft Auto, right? Maybe the mission structure is a little bit better. They make it a better game the next time around. Hogwarts Legacy, right now, I was a big component of saying it should be a live service game because it's just amazing on how that world is and people want to play together and stuff. So here's the bar, Hogwarts Legacy set. Now we know they're working on Hogwarts Legacy 2, so now they're going to up the ante. What do? Do they make it co-op? Do they make it online? Do they make it bigger and better? Do they make it different maps where you can go? That's what I'm talking about. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about, Kylo. Z says, hopefully in part 2 of the cutscenes, we'll use the in-game engine instead of screwing up the cutscenes. Yeah, look, fundamentally, K-Vest in Star Wars Outlaws looks good in the cutscenes. In the in-game cutscenes, it's Jerry Seinfeld episode, light changing. Her face literally molds and melts inside those scenes. It's so weird. It's so weird. Maybe down the line they do like a high res update or something to fix it. Okay, but at that point it's like, why did I pay $120 for this a year ahead of time when you're fixing it now and putting out what it should have been? You know, I don't know. Yeah, but the way I'm talking about it, Eclipse. See, I know what you're saying. Okay, Eclipse is saying. I mean, I see what you're saying, 30. But Ubisoft has been doing the open world games like this for what, 10 years, and now, like, they should have had or down by now. They do have it down. But do you see what I'm saying? The context of what I'm talking about is that Star Wars Outlaws is a new IP inside of Ubisoft, right? Pandora was a new IP inside their thing. You can compare because Ubisoft is Ubisoft, but like all Assassin's Creed games have improved over the years. In my example that I just said, right? Pandora comes out and that's set. That's the standard for Pandora. Now, if they want to make a Avatar next game by Ubisoft, by Massive, because there are more movies coming out, do they up the ante of that game based on itself, not based off the other games they've made of Watch Dogs and Division and whatnot? The reason I bring up Division with Massive for the cover-based shooter is that because Division, by the people that made Division and Division 2, the cover-based shooting should be better in Outlaws because it's made by the people. Ubisoft is the publisher, so they know what type of games they're making, but they're not the makers of the game. Okay? So the next rendition of Outlaws should have improvements based off of what they've set the standard here, unless they do patches, because maybe they don't make enough money off of it, and they just want to improve this game, and then they fixed it, what I'm saying, in this game instead of making it number 2. I don't think that's going to stick, Sarge. I don't think that's going to stick. I think the chat should change the phrase, "It's getting ugly in here," to "Who invited K-Vess in here?" Yeah. A Crowded House says, like Stevens talked about, the character model in the cutscenes, he said, is very strange. What's it called? Skillup said the same thing. He said the pre-renders of her are different than the in-game cutscenes. Outlaws equals Men in Black backstory. Men in Black backstory? I don't know where. What is that, Krebsy? Outlaws equals Men in Black backstory. I'm missing something. But look at FromSoft. They have been making Souls games for 15 years now, and look at Elden Ring. That's a masterpiece. You need to learn from what you're doing. Yeah, but FromSoft is the company making all those games, right? They're making all those games. Ubisoft is publishing. Mass Effect is the ones that made the game. So if you compare massive games to massive games, what have they done? Division 1 and Division 2 is a better game. Pandora, they learned and made an open world game, and they did very detailed stuff for Pandora, right? And now they made a Star Wars game that's more detailed, right? So they've upped the ante. With inside the company itself, they've improved their game making across the way. Oh, that joke went over my head, Krebsy. K-Vess is the cockroach alien from Men in Black. I got you. Kay looks better than the girl from Control. I would say yes in certain cutscenes, Nate, but not true for the entire thing. You see what I'm saying? All right, I want to grab something real fast. Let's see. Games played. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm trying to find, because of IPs, right? Our next story that we're going to be talking about is that Sony CFO says company doesn't have enough IPs, right? So I'm trying to find the most played games this generation. And I want to do that for Nintendo, and I want to do that for Xbox, and then I want to have a conversation about this. Let me see if this is... That's fine. I think we could do that. No. All right, that'll work. Then let me do... Sorry, chat. I'm just trying to grab... There's no order of this list. I'm just trying to make a list here. Because we don't do any kind of research or anything. I just thought about it before I'm about to read this. I was like, you know what would be interesting to look up? All right. Let's talk about this next topic. Okay. Let's talk about this next topic. Of Sony CFO says the company doesn't have enough IPs. Okay. Now we're going to read the article to see what kind of context he's talking about, right? Because there's a lot of IPs they have. I think he's talking about just the video games, but we'll see in a second. If you guys like what I do here, we just cover news stories, have conversations. If you like what I do here, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Okay. So Sony CFO says company doesn't have enough IP. Okay, so Sony doesn't think it has enough original intellectual property IPs. In an interview with Financial Times, PlayStation Lifestyle for spotting it, Sony Chief Financial Officer Hiroki Totoki said that the company needs to put more of its focus in creating its own IP moving forward. And that's not just in specific sectors, but throughout the company. Whether it's for games, films, or anime, we don't have a much of IPs that is also fostered from the beginning, he said. We're lacking the early phase of IPs that's also an issue for us. I think what he's saying by this is obviously, I know people go back and, well, they've made, like SOCOM, they've made, a Killzone, they've made all those other games in the past, and then they have all the IPs in the here. A lot of these things, though, like, for instance, Destiny, they paid for Destiny, and Xbox has done it with Bethesda and now Activision. They didn't build those from the ground up. There's a timetable of like how much nurture and care have you made to this game. Like they put time into Spider-Man, but the problem with Spider-Man is Sony owns the Spider-Man rights for movies. They don't own the rights to Spider-Man for gaming. Okay, so it's not really their IP. That's a Marvel IP that they're licensing right now for it. So that's not really a PlayStation new IP or original IP. They're looking for, at least what I get what he's saying is they're looking for more of like what Mario is or what Zelda is or Metroid is. They're looking for homegrown, make this IP and build it up, which is good, which is like Astro Boy, okay? Which is like Astro Boy, okay? So it says, Hiroki says that added in an interview with Sony has been better at finding a global audience for content that has also already become popular in their home market. From a gaming standpoint, Sony has a number of original active IPs for PlayStation franchises such as God of War, Horizon, Uncharted, and continue to be successful from Sony first-party developers. The company also has a number of dormant first-party titles like Bloodborne, okay, which Sony funded, and FromSoft, Killzone, SOCOM, Resistance, and more. Okay, so it says, what do you make that Sony CFO's comments on the company not having enough IPs gaming from other mediums? More Gaming Insider, right? So I think that's what he's talking about, right? So now I brought it up, right, just before this, because, again, we just read the articles, and I saw the title. I was like, all right, well, let me bring up, this is probably not the best to look at, but I'm just looking up in not in any particular order, right? Video games played in this generation game on PlayStation 5. So these are some of the most popular games being played on their system. So let's look how many that they own, okay? Witcher 3, not theirs. Control, not theirs. Death Stranding, not theirs, technically. I mean, they paid for exclusive. Hades, Last of Us Part 2 is theirs. Ghost of Tsushima is theirs. Resident Evil is not theirs. No Man's Sky is not theirs. Grand Theft Auto is not theirs. Apex Legends and Crusaders 3. Okay? So you have 2 games out of this list. Again, this is just a small little thing. Right? So you have 2 games out of this list of 11, 8, 9, 10, 11 games that 2 of them are part of it. Like Horizon's not even on here, and it's sold very well on PlayStation, right? It's sold very well. God of War sold very well. Spider-Man sold very well. But these are what's playing, right? And I brought up, I put the same thing in, a list of most played games on PlayStation 5 this generation. I put it in for Nintendo, and look at Nintendo, right? Mario Kart Deluxe, Super Mario Party, Nintendo Switch Sports, Super Mario Wonder, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, The Legend of Zelda, Metro Prime Remastered, Stardew Valley, Mario Odyssey, Animal Crossing, Minecraft, and Legends of Zelda. Okay? There's 2 games on this list that are not first-party titles or, made by Nintendo. Okay? Like, do you see the difference? Now we go to Xbox, right? Xbox is a little different because they're not marketing games. Right? They don't care who they put on the box. They're marketing Game Pass. Okay, so you look at this. Horizon's up there. Okay, so that's theirs. Okay. Apex Legends. Grand Theft Auto, not theirs. Rocket League, not theirs. Microsoft is there with Flight Sim. Cyberpunk's not theirs. Starfield is theirs, but they paid for it. It wasn't made by them. Okay. Elden Ring. Destiny 2, which is not a Sony thing, but it's not there, right, in this context. Minecraft, they paid for, but they've had it for like 13, 14 years, so it's theirs, okay? Overwatch is theirs now, but it wasn't theirs. Resident Evil, Fallout 76 is theirs now, but it wasn't theirs from homegrown, okay? EA Sports, FC24, Fortnite, Roblox, Tom Clancy, Sea of Thieves is theirs, and Halo is theirs. So on Xbox, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 if you count paying for stuff and bringing it over. But so going back to the article of this saying he doesn't have enough IPs. They got plenty of IPs, okay? Now, I don't know if... Look, I would love a SOCOM if it came back out, but I don't know if the market would like a SOCOM, right? I don't know if Killzone comes back, if there's going to be a market for Killzone. So it's like, what do you do? How do you know? And I think this is what Sony could do, okay? I think Sony... I know they're bad on the backwards compatibility thing, but wouldn't it be interesting if they put SOCOM back on the market, the old game, just to see how much interest is in people playing SOCOM? It wouldn't really cost them a lot, and that would be also almost like a play test, like a sort of like what we talked yesterday about TV shows. They put out a pilot, right, to see if it's going to work before they put it in full production to make money off of it. Why don't they take these older games and put them on PlayStation so they could actually play, right? So people can look at it and go, hey, there is some stuff, right? SOCOM U.S. Navy SEALs or SOCOM 4. It doesn't matter. Just see, put it out there. Put a testing out there, Taco, to see, like, what people are interested in. If they put old Killzone on there and they see if people are interested in Killzone, they go, all right, let's move forward with Killzone. Let's move forward with SOCOM. So there's a lot of things Astro Boy, which we'll talk about in a second, is a big brand for them. It's a good game, right? It's a younger audience that builds up, and it's a brand that they can keep moving forward with. I think that's what Hiroki Totoki's talking about. He's talking about, yeah, God of War sells well, but everything's the same, right? Everything's like realistic looking, third person action adventure RPG movie type of game. And there's not these games that are really like hit with people. They're Last of Us, God of War, Horizon. Yeah, they're all separate games. They all are different IPs, but they all look the same, right? There's not very much diversity between the actual games themselves. They all feel, they're all set in different areas, right? They don't all look the same. What I'm saying is like art-wise, but they all are like graphically intense, great looking games. One's in post-apocalyptic, one's in god mythology, and one's in like a survival future dinosaur world. Okay, like these are all different things, but none of them really like stand out. Like when you think PlayStation, right? You're not thinking Spider-Man. You do because it's a hot title, but it's not a title they created. There's not enough IPs that they've created from the ground up, like Mario, like Zelda, like Metroid, like Star Fox, right? There's so many different characters that they've like made and pushed out and made, and they don't push on IPs like that. Like God of War now, God of War was made all those years ago. It was a completely different game. They've evolved it over time, but it's not really a high profile character, right? I mean, it is a high profile character, but in the grand scheme of things, they don't have enough of those characters that they've built from the ground up to be that initial Sony. Like right now, they're making a God of War show. They're making a Horizon show. They made a last Uncharted movie. They're capitalizing on the things they have now, which is still pertinent because they don't have enough IPs. They're banking on the things that they have now, but the older IPs, they don't know if they can make money or not because they don't want to invest the money in it, right? Hence now they put Concord out there. Concord, I think they wanted to be this next big thing, okay? Hence why they're putting it in the Secret Levels show. But yet it kind of flops and they got to rethink it, right? I think they bought Bungie because they want to take the Destiny IP to use it for shows and use it for different things because that's a big IP. But they also didn't bake it, right? They bought it, just like Microsoft bought a lot of theirs. So we'll see what happens in the future and where they go. But it is kind of funny. It's almost like Kathleen Kennedy saying about the Star Wars, we don't have things to pull from. There's no lore of anything from other stories. Meanwhile, there's like 300 books that you can pick from. Saying this is almost kind of like delusional. It's like, we don't have that many IPs. You have plenty of IPs. They probably got like 50 IPs they can pull from that are in the past that they haven't tried or attempt to try. They just keep putting the same stuff out. Sequel to God of War, sequel to Horizon, sequel to Last of Us, remake, remaster this, remaster that, instead of going back to the pile that made them money that in the past with their IPs and try to bring them forward. But then again, let's just talk about Killzone. Let's talk about SOCOM. Are those viable IPs in this landscape of free-to-play, multiplayer PvP games? Maybe not. Maybe they got to take that IP and move it into a different direction so it's not that PvP type of thing. But then again, does that even make it SOCOM anymore? These are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think in the live chat. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Thanks for watching. Sarge says, not enough IPs. I just found out that you can get out of your ship and walk around in the space station. Yeah. It's very cool the way they did certain things. Kind of Funny released a Astro Bot launches a game about all the IPs they have. I kind of agree. A number of the new IPs have been decreasing since the PlayStation 3 era. Yeah, whatever happened to Little Big Planet and stuff like that, right? Like they could evolve that. They don't really do much with that. What was that? What was the character? What was the main character? Sackboy? Sarge says they didn't nurture any of these IPs. They shit all over them. They're doing a jack shit with Bloodborne. Yeah, And it makes you wonder why. Like, what do they see in the landscape? People are asking for it, but they don't put it out. Or does he mean cross-promotional IP, like IP has movies, games, etc.? I mean, in the article, doesn't he say, whether if it's for games, films, or anime, we don't have that much IP. He's talking about all of them, right? He says it in the article. Whether it's for, quote, whether it's for games, films, or anime, we don't have that much IP, right? So he's talking across the whole board. They don't have enough. Sin says, Krebsy, I was thinking the same thing. Very weird timing for the interview to be published. Just as an original IP is about to drop for PlayStation. It's still pertinent, though, right? Just because they have Astrobot doesn't mean, oh, everything's saved. 10 out of 10. Great game. We have enough IPs. They don't have enough IPs. They don't have enough Astro Boys. Kurt says, nothing better than owning your own ideas. Right. And this is what I talked about in the past. IPs are king. Why do you think these companies don't want to come up with stuff? Because they don't want to invest the money to nurture these things. They go out and buy them. Okay? It's very simple. If Apple wants to compete with PlayStation and Xbox, they can just buy a system, right? They can just buy the technology and make it if they want. They can just buy the IPs if they want. If Netflix wants to compete with Microsoft and PlayStation, Nintendo, they can just buy the IPs. Okay? They don't have to nurture anything, right? Now, obviously, Netflix is making their own games. Okay? They have their little niche market. Microsoft goes out and buys. Okay? They're like, hey, we don't have time to make a Starfield, but you know what? Let's buy the company that made Starfield. We don't have time to make a MMO. Let's go buy an MMO. Amazon, they're putting the money out there. They're making MMO after MMO, and some of them make it, some of them fail, some of them don't even make it to the finish line, okay? But they're putting their money in those outlets. They're trying to find New World. That's a new IP. They're putting it behind it, okay? But they also buy Lord of the Rings so they can make a Lord of the Rings one. I think there may be a market for a paid SOCOM game. Absolutely. But how would they know? They don't want to take the chance, right? Do they make the SOCOM game like a Call of Duty single, like a just straight up campaign and then PvP, or do they change it up in some way, shape, or form? Do they make a SOCOM like a Helldivers? You know what I mean? Like, what do they do? Sarge says, bottom line, bro, they're scared to invest in an unproven older IP. This is why you get the same shit over and over. Minimal viable product, right? Chris says, Sackboy Adventure came out in generation in like 2020, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. Still, even if it came out, there's not enough IPs. That's what he's saying. There's not enough IPs of those things that are big and successful. How big was Sackboy's Big Adventure? How many copies did Sackboy's Big Adventure sell? Are people foaming at the mouth for the next Sackboy game? What if they develop Destiny 3 to be made exclusive? I think in this day and age, I don't think that's a good idea for them. If it's not successful across all platforms as is, Crowded, do you think taking Destiny 3 and putting it on one platform is going to make it better? Just to put that in perspective, there's 60 million people that have a PlayStation 5, and let me see what one of the best-selling games of all time on this generation is God of War, right? $15 million units. 15 million units. Okay, so as of right now, 15 million units out of 60. Is that good? It sounds good. I would love 15 million of anything. Okay. But that's a lot of people that are not buying the game on their system. And that's over, over the year and a half or year that it's been out. Krebsy says, yes, the article said it's the company's wide across all sectors. What I'm talking about is Hiroki talking about taking it, let's say Astro Boy, instead of just having a game spreading him across all forms of entertainment. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The IP is the IP, Krebsy. The IP, the intellectual property of Astro Boy, if they make a cartoon, if they make a movie, if they put it in comic books and video games, it doesn't matter. They don't have enough IPs. That's what he's talking about. They don't have enough IPs to homegrown IPs to make more stuff, whatever that is. That's what he says in the article. He quotes and says, of all those things, of anime and all those things, it doesn't matter. If they might not make an Astro Boy anime, they don't have enough IPs to make the things they want to make. That's what he's saying. There's an adult film called Sackboy. I'm intrigued. Robert Jones says, I think PlayStation, I think Crash, Spyro, Metal Gear, and Metal Gear ain't there, right? Metal Gear ain't there, right? They're missing stuff. And I get what he's saying, right? And I think Xbox has got the same thing. They've lost their identity. Me and Sarge talked about this. When you could take Master Chief off of your box and put Starfield in place of it, you've lost your identity of what you're trying to do, right? But Microsoft has already said that it's about Game Pass, more games, more places, so they're just trying to market that, right? Nintendo is hard up on their IPs, okay, across all media. If it's making a video game, selling books, making cartoons, making movies, or putting them in theme parks, they have a shit ton of IPs that they can use. If Sony's going to stay where they are in their lane, making consoles and stuff, then they need to make more original IPs. Yeah, but you're missing the point, Krebsy. You're missing the point. There's not enough IPs. Yes, they're taking the 4 or 5 IPs that are selling now, but there's not enough IPs total that are profitable for them. James says exclusives may be good for bragging rights, but not putting these games everywhere is drastically nuking their potential profits. Right, and this is why I say, James, why I think, there will be a day where they do day and date across all platforms or whatnot. Solomon Argus says Sony owns a decent amount of IPs, but most of them are not original IPs. That's themselves that they make, which is what the article is talking about. Exactly. Thank you. I hope by this statement they're signaling that they also create more IPs. Right. But the problem here is, Jones, right? Let's take Concord as an example, right? Obviously, they didn't make it from the start, but let's just say Concord, they started it. Right? They nurtured it from the beginning, which they didn't. They just bought it and then launched it. But let's say Concord was their next thing, and they nurtured that brand, right? And they had big plans for it. They had Concord. They're like, we're going to make the Concord game. We're going to make a TV series. We're going to make an animated show, whatever. We're going to do all these things. They put it out, and it bombs, right? Now they're like, well, that original IP didn't work out for us. Well, we need to make up for this. Let's put another Uncharted 5 out there. Right, because we know that sells. Okay, the original IP idea didn't work for them, so now they're standoffish. They're like, well, that didn't really work out for us, so we need to come up with another idea, another plan. All right, well, let's do a remaster of one of the other games that we have, because that's minimal viable product that we'll put out. He's saying that they need to nurture, they need to make more IPs, but the problem with that is they have to invest a lot of money to make new IPs, and they're not sure what's going to make money or not. Dark Taco says, I don't like how Sony is using their talent. Mike, if the Marvel sweatshop and Sony wasn't going to be the best developer to produce the new good IP. Right, but even IP of Spider-Man, that's not theirs. That's a license that's given to them by Marvel. Right? Great game for them. They're selling 30 million copies from the whole series and whatnot, or over 30 million copies. But that's not theirs. There's money going out to get that IP. And then they have to give money to Marvel once they make money off that IP. I'm not missing the point. What I'm saying is you're going over your head, it seems. All right. Speak to me like I'm fucking retarded. Say it in small caps like Mo does. And explain to me what I'm missing, what your point is. Small caps. It's because I'm retarded. Please explain to me how I'm missing the point of the IP is going across multiple platforms, across movies, books, comics, animated shows, and video games. I'm self-deprecating. Maybe I'm missing it. Please explain to me what I'm missing. We'll wait. Argus says Sony aren't taking talking about the IPs they own in those articles. They're talking about specifically IPs that they make themselves from the very beginning, not the ones that they pay for and acquire. That's what I was talking about, right, Argus? James Wolf says in some of the IPs like Bloodborne forever tied to FromSoft. I feel people wouldn't like the Bloodborne 2 and some other PlayStation studio try to make it. That's another good point, James, right? Bloodborne is a game on PlayStation, but it's not made by Sony. It's made by, right? FromSoft. Dark Taco says making Insomniac the new Marvel team was the worst decision they've ever made. So much wasted talent. Right, they're making everything. They're already taking into account all the titles that you listed above, Krebsy, and when they're still saying that they don't have enough original Sony made IPs. Kinger says PlayStation has plenty of IPs. I think the point is he's making is not enough of them are profitable, and it would be benefit from greatly if they need more specific to PlayStation. That's what I said, Kinger. That's exactly what I said in the very beginning. There's not enough Sony homegrown IPs that they have, and he wants more of them. Not every original IPs is going to be land in the Astro Boy. Originality is risky business. Right. And that's the problem. Right? Sure. Movie analogy. 10 movies get made. 10 original IPs get made. 10 original IPs get made. 7 of them are going to suck balls. Okay? 3 of them are going to be successful. 1 of them is going to be a massive hit. Right? They don't have enough. They don't have enough IPs to play that game with yet. Argus says, even a lot of PlayStation-owned games that were PlayStation exclusives were not their own. The games that were made for them are acquired by them. Sony has very little IPs that they make themselves. Hence why I brought up all 3, right? And again, this is not a metric of anything, right? But I brought up Sony, all the games that are being played right now this generation. These are all the games, and 1, Last of Us, 2, Ghost of Tsushima, right? Then we went to Nintendo. 2 on this list are not theirs. Everything else is. And then we went to Microsoft, right? And they had 7 of theirs or 5 of theirs that were games that they've made that played, and that's not including Starfield. That's not including Overwatch. That's not including, the other games that they've bought and brought in. I'm surprised they haven't, given how massive Elden Ring blew up, how often people beg them to update it. The way they act, though, Bloodborne doesn't even exist. It's bizarre. I don't know why they don't do Bloodborne. I'm assuming maybe the studio just doesn't. They just want to get away from it for right now. They want to try other things. Well, I'm sure it'll sell well, Eclipse. And the question is about Astro Boy. If it gets really good reviews and sells well, but is it going to sell 30 million copies like a Mario? I don't know. I don't even know what's the last one that came out, right? What was the last Astro? Was it Astro's Playroom? Was the last one? Over 30 million copies worldwide, right? Sales data, Astro's Playroom has sold over 30 million copies worldwide. So I'm assuming that's a mega hit, right? Now, is that to me, is that IP like a Mario, like a Zelda, like a thing for PlayStation? Oh, it was free. Well, then how do they say over 30 million copies sold? So that means 30 million people bought a console and that's what came with it? Is that what it is, Jones? So there you go. You don't even know, right? You don't even know if it's real or not as far as the sales. But how much did it cost to make that game? Right? Did it cost $50 million and then it made a shit ton of money? How much did the Astrobot cost this time? Does it go on to sell 5 million copies? That's a huge success for it then, you know? Argus says, my point, even if the ones that have already made aren't enough, although they own a lot of IPs, that's the other people made or make, they also require them. They also more of their own, that even as the ones that don't, that the ones they made more recently aren't even enough. That's what he's saying. They don't have enough homegrown IPs that they've created themselves. When it all comes down crashing, right, each of the companies needs to have their homegrown stuff, right? Hence why I said Game Pass works, because if they have 34 companies working, they're each making a game a month. They have 34 months they could drop a game if they really wanted to, right? So there's always value for Game Pass because they're always throwing their first-party titles. And soon there'll be so many first-party titles on Game Pass that would be a whole section that they could sell first-party title games, right? They can make a whole nother separate transaction just to play their first-party title games alone if they wanted to. Okay, they would have enough back IPs after years and years that they would have enough there. Mario and all of them, Nintendo has that. PlayStation doesn't have that. That's what he's saying. We don't have enough IPs that we have. We have to make more. Ingrid says, I think the disconnect is people don't realize the exclusivity deals of Sony-owned IPs aren't the same thing. Correct, Ingrid. Right? You can buy IPs, and right now, this generation, anything from Activision, anything from Bethesda, from Microsoft, is not their own. They bought it, okay, but it's not theirs. Now, next generation console comes out. Now Bethesda makes a game for that console. Blizzard makes a game for that console. That's homegrown IPs that they've now added to their repertoire or whatever, portfolio. Argus says, no, there's no Bloodborne from FromSoft games performed with Bloodborne is either licensing thing or technical issue with the game's design mechanics being tied to 30 frames per second technical limitations. Okay? Wii Sports was free as well. They also sold it separately, but yeah, it came with the Wii. But the Wii, like the Mii's they're called, right? Those are homegrown, but that's not really an IP. That's just taking your character that you create and put it into sports games, right? That's not a character, right? You're not making a Wii Sports movie. Maybe they do, okay? But we're talking about IPs, intellectual properties of characters that are big enough to make a game, make a book, make an animated show, make a movie. James says, David Jaffe made a good point about some of the older PlayStation IPs like Killzone. Yeah, it was popular, but it didn't sell well, okay? Or didn't sell what Sony wanted to. But Guerrilla moved over to Horizon Forbidden West. That's what I said. I said, SOCOM, I said, I don't know. I like SOCOM, but is SOCOM going to be a big hit for them today? I don't know. It's a different landscape today. When SOCOM came out originally, there wasn't 55 different PvP shooters. Do you know what I mean? It's a completely different landscape now. So yeah, what he's saying, I agree, right? Killzone might have been popular to you and me if we liked it, but was there enough people to love it where it's going to make money? And if they made it today, would there be enough money to recoup to push it forward as an IP that they want to make more of? Kurt says, new fresh ideas are hard to mold, but with 34 companies, you got a shot. Well, if we take my example of the movies, Kurt, right, I'll keep that up there so people know. If you take the analogy of movies, because movies work this way, if Xbox has 34 games that they have, and let's say they're all brand new IPs, okay, 9 of them of the 34 will be somewhat successful in some way, shape, or form. 3 of them will be very successful, right? That's the odds. So out of 34, maybe they get 3 IPs they can use and then continue on with. 9 with maybe they're good, they make a couple, they make good money, but they don't know if they want to make a sequel to it. And the rest of them are just garbage. Let's see. Be Sony fucking them over because the entire internet and anyone else with common sense knows Bloodborne is the most popular of the Souls games. That's constantly... Yeah, I don't understand. Bloodborne to me is very confusing. I've never played it myself, but I do know it's very popular, right? Here, let's look it up. All right, so here's a list. All right, Bloodborne, 7.46 million. Okay, March of 2015. Right, is that not good enough for them? I don't know. Look, there are other titles here. Sony here has Marvel Spider-Man, right? But that's not theirs. Okay, God of War. Okay, that's 1. Uncharted, that's 2. Gran Turismo, it's a brand. Yeah, it's an IP, but it's not a character. You're just putting cards on a box. The movie did poorly, even though I liked the movie. It did poorly in theaters. Okay. Last of Us Part 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, Last of Us Remastered, Ghost of Tsushima, Bloodborne down here. Right? There's a big gap between Bloodborne, Ghost of Tsushima, and then the rest of them. Right? Square Enix, not selling very well. 5 million copies. Okay. But that's not theirs. Killzone, Shadows Fall, right? 2.1 million. That's back in 2013. Is that enough? Right? That doesn't seem like enough. Right? What would they have to throw in, especially in this era, to make that game stand out from everything else? Right? Drive Club, 2 million. Knack, I don't even know what the hell that is, right? 2 mil. Magic Dolphin says, Andy from Kind of Funny just hacked a day one PlayStation 5. Cost him like a $1,300 to get Bloodborne at 60 frames per second. Brain Clip says, as a PC player, I wanted to play Bloodborne for so long I could play it, and also now, because I also have a PlayStation 5, but I'm also going to play the game at 30 frames per second. Jason says, Argus, yeah, 100%. Sony's ignoring what people want. I wonder if it's Sony or is it FromSoft? Right? I feel like Bloodborne didn't sell well or too well at launch and got really popular when it was free on PlayStation Plus. Some of them time Souls-like games were very a niche around the time of Bloodborne came out. I have a feeling that the reason they don't want to do it is because I think it's more FromSoft than it is than Sony, right? Think about this. If they made another Bloodborne, would you have gotten Elden Ring? If they made Bloodborne, would you have got Mech, what's it called? What was the mech one? Armor Core, right? Would you have got Armor Core 6, right? If they made that game, would you have gotten any of these other games? See, now what FromSoft has done, they've done a really good job because now they have other IPs, right, that are back in. Armor Core has been around for decades, right? But now that's back in the realm, right? You got Elden Ring that they've created, right? Ubisoft has a lot of IPs themselves, right? They have the AC things. They got the Division stuff. They got now Pandora. They have the Star Wars brand. Obviously, the Pandora and or Avatar and Star Wars are license deals type of thing. Same with the Division, but again, they've been working with them for decades. Okay, they have so many. Ubisoft has so many different types of IPs that they constantly make money off of. PlayStation doesn't have that many. Original. I couldn't imagine even a little bit if it's on FromSoft's side. They have to know that it's the most wanted unless they don't want to exclusive anymore. But they also want a Demon Souls remake. But that's what I'm saying, though, Argus. Like, I can't imagine Sony saying, "Yeah, we don't want a Bloodborne," right? I think FromSoft is like, we have other things that we're working on right now, and we're not gonna take our time away from this to make Bloodborne, right? Maybe the next thing that they make is Bloodborne, but these other things. From that time they made the last Bloodborne to now is that they wanted to work on other stuff. Otherwise, you get the stuff like what's happening with Rocksteady. It's not the Batman game we asked for, right? Because they go off to try to make something else, and people give them shit. Well, now they've proven to themselves that, yeah, we're going back to do all these other things because we don't want to be a one-trick pony type of stuff. You know what I mean? Bethesda's doing the same thing, but that's why they made Starfield. You gotta go outside your comfort zone in certain studios when you're successful and try to make something else. Us as the consumers we want to push back on something like, this is not the game I asked for. Scotty B says Bloodborne will be day one with the PlayStation 6 like Demon Souls was with 5. There you go. Maybe. James says, pretty sure that he said that he knows that people want it, but doesn't have time with all the other projects he's working on. And that's what I'm saying. Artists don't want to be pigeonholed with one thing, right? And there's a difference between FromSoft and Sony, right? Sony needs fresh IPs, new IPs to grow their business. FromSoft doesn't. They can do whatever they want because they're makings of the games, but Sony needs first-party titles that are original IPs that they can grow from the ground up. So when everything else fails, they don't have to worry about making paid exclusives or just third-party or time exclusives. They have their games that are awesome IPs that they can keep making for decades along the way. Hence Nintendo. See, Sony has to do that because they have to sell consoles. Microsoft doesn't have to do that because they don't care about just consoles. They want to make games. Just buy games. Sony wants you to buy their games on their system. That's why they need to do what they're doing. That's why I think he's saying what he's saying, where they don't have enough IPs. Right? This is why I've been saying for a couple years now that PlayStation, everyone wants Xbox to like fade off and die. But then there would be no competition for PlayStation. And their actual real competition is Nintendo. Always has been. Okay, Nintendo. Okay? Because Nintendo lives and dies on their IPs. And this is why when they come out with a new system, they already have 15 IPs that you know that's going to, and they take that IP and they shift it around to different game modes and stuff like that, like Mario, teaming up with Ubisoft, or I'm sorry, Square Enix, and making Rabbids and whatnot, right? Like they take the IP and make different things. But that IP is so strong. Their IPs are so strong with Nintendo. That's why their software sales are just through the roof. Right? Nobody wants to have that competition. PlayStation fans like to scream from the rooftops that they're beating Xbox, but yet they're really far behind Nintendo. Right? Nintendo is king. Brian House says he said it's out of his hands. It's on Sony. I think they're proud of it. Remember, the Ghost of Tsushima was a Bloodborne-inspired costume in Jin, and also think Astro Boy has a skin from it as well. Kraken says Sony has a massive graveyard of IPs. Yeah, it's mind-boggling how they have so many IPs, but they just haven't done anything with them. They just let them fall off, and they're just like, whatever. Marcus says, and also they're both Japanese-owned, Japanese-facing companies fighting for the same consumers in that market. Yeah. That's what I say, James. I say that all the time. From when you're born to when you die, they just hand you a Nintendo when you're born. They're like, oh, congratulations. It's a boy. It's a girl. Here's a Nintendo for you. Right? And you play it, and they play that for the first years of their life, and then they move into the other consoles, and then they always go back to Nintendo because it's etched in your brain. I love Mario. I love whatever IPs they have. Right? Nintendo for the whole family. My son still goes back to the Nintendo Switch, right? He has an Xbox. He's got his iPad. He plays on PC with his laptop and stuff. But going back to that Nintendo Switch, man, it's like wearing a comfy pair of shoes. Let me see something real fast. If let's see, Nintendo Switch. Total. That's the first year. That's the second year. Third year. That's 3 years. It came out in 2017, right? Yeah, 2017, March 31st. So, yeah. Okay. So if you want to compare systems from Nintendo to PlayStation to Xbox, okay? So I just looked this up because we know that PlayStation has, in the first 4 years of his lifespan, okay, it's sold 61, I'll even give him 65 million units, okay? So the first 4 years of Nintendo Switch, from 2017 is when it came out, quarter one, ending in March 31st, right? That's when they came out, March 31st, 2017, okay? So 17, 18, okay, 19, 20, so 21. This is the spot right here. So at the end of this, they sold 84.59 million units of Switch. Okay? That's 4 years. So in the exact same amount of time, PlayStation is 20 million units behind Nintendo in their sales of their console. Okay? 20 million. That's their competition. Okay? And on top of that, okay, Now, in the next 3 years, they have now sold 143.42 million units for the Nintendo Switch. Okay. So in 7 years, if Sony doesn't get up to the point of what Nintendo is, then they've lost their second place. Okay, in console sales. Okay, in the same time frame. Right now, these are the same people that'll look at you and say, "Well, PlayStation's outselling Xbox 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, whatever." Well, Nintendo's outselling all of them, right? And Nintendo, on top of that, they constantly sell their games, and they're selling 30 million copies, 40 million copies. Mario Kart, 60 million copies. What's going on, Super Dave? Chris says, PlayStation just has to deliver great games and have a big popular games available on it. Nintendo is still on the most recommended entry-level hardware for kids. Nintendo still misses big third-party games because they don't need them. You see that? They don't need them. And the third-party games that they have, that they get, are huge. What happens? What happens, Chris, if the Switch 2 comes out and it's comparable? It's not up to the standards of the PlayStation 5, but now the graphics and stuff are in the ballpark of between the S and the between the S and the X, or between the S and the PlayStation 5, where they're not as good, but now they're up there. Now they can start doing the 60 frames per second and whatnot on their games. Is it game over? Is it game over? Because Nintendo Switch right now, at the most inferior product compared to the other systems, is outselling them 3-1. James says, I remember during the Activision Blizzard thing, Sony and Microsoft wouldn't even acknowledge Nintendo as the competitor. There was never a competition, just two groups fighting for second. Yeah, it's ridiculous, James. They're like, oh yeah, that's not it. They're making bank. These two idiots over here, PlayStation and Xbox, one company can't even respond to, like, did you hear the story about the what is that? I forget the company. They were trying to get in contact to sell their game on Xbox. They couldn't get contact, so they had to go through Twitter. And now Microsoft's getting back to them. Like, these are grown adults running a company, and they can't get in contact with people. They had to go through Twitter to get, right? Who's running the company at Microsoft? And then we have out of touch people going, oh yeah, we're going to charge $40 for a free to play game, to put up against everybody else. It's a free to play model of a hero shooter. Like, who's making these decisions? Meanwhile, Nintendo's going, oh, what are we doing? Oh, we made a broken, buggy Pokemon game, and it sold 37 million units. Ridiculous. It's so retarded, Argus, that the company was like, yeah, we can't make our game on sale because no one from Microsoft will get back to us. They literally ghosted the company. They ghosted the company. They're like, yeah, we were supposed to get to it, but we didn't. Look, I didn't get to the Astrobot story because it's getting a little late in the stream. We'll bring up Astrobot tonight up on the stream for Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories in the past week, and we'll rant along the way. We'll bring up the Metacritic score. We'll bring up the other scores for Astrobot. We'll have a little conversation about, perfect scores and whatnot tonight on Generation X Gaming. We'll just hang out for a little bit more. I'm not going to bring up another topic. James says, Sony got too comfortable and Microsoft is just Microsoft. It's so ridiculous that they didn't even answer the guy. The Switch is more personal handheld that has the option for video out. PlayStation 5 costs 2 times that much and requires internal controllers, power supplies, and TV. 50% of PlayStation 5 owners have a Switch. What are you trying to? I know what the business model is, Chris. What are you trying to? Are you defending PlayStation? Is that what you're doing right now? Are you defending PlayStation why Nintendo sells more? Kingard says, you're going to play Space Marines 2? I am not. And here's the reason I'm not playing it, Kingard. So, Space Marines 2, I said if co-op comes out and co-op works, I'll pick it up. But this is when I didn't know a lot of other information. We watched the review yesterday from Force Gaming, and Force Gaming talked about it and said how if you're not interested in the PvP and you're just playing the campaign and you're playing the co-op stuff, there's only 6 missions. There's only 6 missions for the co-op missions for Space Marines. So there's 6 characters that you will grind for. So you play the campaign, you go through the campaign, and then majority of the player base, if you're just playing for the co-op and not for the PvP, you're going to be playing the same 6 missions over and over and over again with each of these characters, which means that you have to play each mission about 30 times if you want to level up all your characters and play all those missions. Okay. Then we saw the season pass that they're doing, and they're not even adding the horde mode until like late 2025. They're adding more missions, they're adding more stuff, more guns and stuff as the year goes through for the season pass. So at that point, I was like, I'm out. I'm not paying $60 or $70 for a game that I have to wait a year to play. So I'm just not going to get it. If it goes on sale, maybe, or I'll just wait the year when all the content's in the game and then I'll purchase it. It looks great. It looks awesome. But the business model, I'm just not a fan of. The only difference between what they're doing, what Suicide Squad's doing, and what Star Wars Outlaws is doing is that that they're well, actually there is no difference, because Suicide Squad is you pay the $70 and you wait 4 seasons for the thing to come out. You paid up front. Okay. With this, you're paying $70, $60, $70, and you're waiting 12 months for the stuff to come out. Outlaws, I paid $18 and I'm putting it down and I won't pick it back up until the rest of the game's in there. And even then, at that point, it'll be cheaper, and I'll get it for a lesser price a year later. Which is a bummer, because I really wanted to play it, but at the same time, I can take that $70. I can go invest it in a stock market and make money out. I can go buy a copy of Concord and resell it and make more money and wait, right? And I'll have more fun doing that than waiting 12 months for a game to be complete. There's so many games. I don't need to buy a brand new $70 game and wait a year to play it for all the content. I can go buy a game right now that's been out for 2 years that I haven't played yet and get the whole game for less money. Is it the campaign co-op? It is. It is. Hilly says Nintendo's the only outselling Sony if they're making more money profit on each unit. They're making more margin on the games because of their own IPs. Well, they make money off the systems, Hilly. Nintendo's been making money off the systems for years now, off of the Switches. I did not finish Outlaws yet. We were about 44 hours in, and we're doing the main story. We'll probably... I won't do it tonight. We'll probably do it tomorrow. I'll be honest. I don't even know if I'll be... I got to talk to Lono and Creature. I don't know if I'll be on the show tomorrow, because I might do another stream in the morning tomorrow to get another 5 hours in or so of Outlaws, so I can finish it by Monday. Because if we might finish it tomorrow. I don't even know how long the thing is for the story wise, and then either tomorrow or Monday. Because there's other games I want to try next week. I don't know if I want to take another couple days to finish out Outlaws next week. Chris says Nintendo and PlayStation are not directly comparable because having both is normal. When Nintendo and PlayStation had handhelds, the console, we had both. Now PlayStation and the Switch combo versus PlayStation 3 and 4, Vita and the Wii. Yeah, but what do you mean they're not comparable? They are. They're game systems that people buy and play games on. So you're saying that everyone that owns a Sony PlayStation owns a Nintendo Switch? Is that what you're telling? They're all comparable. They're all competing for people's money in their pockets to play that game. Krebsy says, looked it up. Since comparing Nintendo and PlayStation, I found this, and I thought it was interesting. Nintendo yearly revenue is $11.5 billion, and PlayStation's is $27.5 billion. Is that off of... What is that off of, though? Their total revenue... You're just looking at PlayStation. You have that link? What you looked up, Krebsy? Oh, Astrobot launches, so you might be playing that? Okay. Elliot says revenue doesn't equal profit. Chris says it's normal to have a handheld and home console. Jim said in court that more than 50% of the PlayStation 5 owners had a Switch. This is why Jim didn't consider Nintendo a direct competition. But it is, just because he doesn't consider them direct competition, it is direct competition. If I'm a gamer and I have $60 in my pocket, okay, and a game comes out on January 1st, and I have a Nintendo and I have a PlayStation, which one am I paying for? That's competition. The competition is, am I picking up the newest game on Nintendo this month for my one purchase that I can make this month, or am I picking up the PlayStation? That's competition. Competition right now for me is everything in existence in your life, right? Are you watching me right now? Are you watching me and someone else right now? Everyone on YouTube, big or small, is my competition. The news right now is my competition. The phone in front of you is my competition if you're surfing through it, right? They're all direct competition. I'm trying to keep people engaged with my content. Everything is a competition. You better believe that Nintendo is direct competition with the other console that's trying to get people to buy video games and play video games. That's right, Jones. Your job is competition. Marcus says, my money spent on Switch game is money that you could have been spending on PlayStation game instead. It's competing for your time and money, and the console sales are only relevant once. From then, it's on a different comparison. Yeah. Yeah. It's 100% in direct competition. You know why I didn't buy a PlayStation 5? Because I bought a graphics card. That was competition for the PlayStation 5. I said, should I buy a PlayStation 5 or should I buy a graphics card that's the same price as the PlayStation 5? That was competition for it. It lost. I got the graphics card. Ingrid says, some people having both Coke and Dr. Pepper in their house doesn't mean that Coke and Dr. Pepper aren't competing with each other. That's right. They are 100% competing with each other. Right? They're both from the same country. Shit, I should have bought a graphics card, not a Series X. Well, you have regrets? You have regrets? I just think it's funny in the grand scheme of things, right? The fanboys, because do you ever hear Nintendo fanboys arguing with the Xbots or the Sony ponies? Never. There might be one YouTuber out there, okay? Because they're delusional, okay? But Nintendo's winning. You don't compete, right? Like if I'm playing baseball in Little League and there's Timmy and Todd, right? If I only compare myself to Todd because I'm better than him, I'll be like, I'm the best player on the baseball field. What about Tim? We don't count him. We don't count him because he had a growth spurt, and it's just not fair. So we don't talk about Tim. Todd, I'm a better player than Todd, right? Like we talk about Tim just hit another home run. Nah, we don't talk about Tim. Tim. Wuhong isn't on Switch. GTA 5 or 6 isn't on Switch. Baldur's Gate 3 isn't on Switch. You can afford both systems. You could probably be able to buy a PlayStation game and a Switch game console. Players don't want PC. What does that have to do with the price of tea? What does that have to do with the price of tea, Chris? You know what else is on PlayStation 5? Any Mario game. Any Zelda game. Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. What does that have to do with anything? They're in competition. Ingrid says, Nintendo's too busy striking down videos for anyone to be a successful Nintendo YouTuber. Yeah, that is so true. It hurts. That's why we don't actually cover any kind of Nintendo stuff. That's why I don't cover any directs from Nintendo. Yeah, the graphic cards are coming out new soon, aren't they? Is it 1 o'clock already? Jesus. Yeah, Nintendo doesn't play around. Oh, yesterday's video is not edited yet or added chapters yet because I'm fighting YouTube because I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. We showed that goddamn Minecraft video at the very tail end. It was the last thing we did of a 3-hour stream yesterday, and they're holding back, right? They're demonetizing me because of it. So I'm trying to get it off my thing. It won't even let me edit it out. So I had to dispute it. So now I'm waiting for the disputation to dispute it with YouTube. So that's why that video doesn't have any time markers or anything done yet. That's a good one. It could be that, Dolphin. The term for Nintendo troll is Nintendo troll. They live under the pony stable at the Xbox factory. Does demonetizing streams take away any gifts people gave to you? I think it's only because of... I think it's only ads, Ingrid. I don't think if it's memberships. Memberships still get directly to you, and YouTube takes their cut. I think it has to do with ads, like ad revenue. I don't know, to be honest. Zoe says, 30, what systems were you comparing to the Switch? The PlayStation 5? The first 4 years of PlayStation 5 compared to the first 4 years of Nintendo Switch, what system would I compare it to? Yeah, the trailer that's meant for advertising. They want to make sure they knock it down because they don't want you advertising. What system would I compare it to? I'm confused by that question. The Virtual Boy. Nintendo's just smart, man. This is why we call them Crazy Uncle Nintendo. They do whatever they want. Well, it's not about winning, James, right? I just think it's funny that people won't even look at it because if it's 3-man race, but I take one of the guys out and there's only 2-man race, well, yeah, I'm the winner. Because you took the other guy out of the race because you don't think they're competitors, but they're 1,000% competitors. They were getting close to PlayStation 2 sales with the Switch, yeah, but that's not what I'm comparing to. We were comparing because everyone says that the PlayStation's outselling Xbox, but they never talk about Nintendo. So I took the first 4 years of Nintendo and said that they sold 84 million units. Okay, they sold 84 million units. And the first 4 years of PlayStation, I even gave them an extra 5 million because we don't know the actual number yet, because we know it's over 60. I said, give them 65. They're still almost 20 million back of the Switch in 4 years, in the first 4 years of the life cycle. And now, if the Switch 2 comes out, and again, we don't know the actual numbers of what it's going to do. People have rumored of what it could do. But if it's comparable to Update where it can play the current day gen games at a lower rate, whatever, but it can start getting third-party games on the Switch, and they have their first-party titles, game over. Game over, right? If they can get it anywhere near, okay, then the Nintendo Switch 2, or whatever the frick they call it, if they do it correctly, okay, they could literally be the first system to break 200 million units in its life cycle. Because not only does it have all the other IPs, but now it gets the third-party IPs that people that had that, because now they don't have to buy two systems to play both the stuff. Well, that's good. Did you come up with that, Kylo, or is it someone else? It has to be the Super Nintendo Switch. That would be excellent. And they color code it like the old school gray with the red trim. Oh, that would be good. Or I'm sorry, the blue with the purple, not the red. They make it the Super Nintendo Switch. Oh, that'd be good. Or they call it the Super 664. You know what I mean? Something. I'm guessing because the only people fighting over this console crap are Xbox and ponies. My Nintendogs just having fun playing games. Yeah, you never see it. You never see them compare themselves to the guy. That's like, show some respect. Nintendo's is the one that kept the gaming industry going. That'd be good. I don't know if you came up with it, Kylo, but that's perfect. Super Nintendo Switch. Something like Switch U2? God, I hope not. I hope not. My vote's for Super Nintendo Switch. Yeah, if they do stuff like that, Quintar, it's just another big win for them, you know? Eclipse says, well, just when the Wii was selling so good, everyone just said it was selling for some... Dude, my older people were playing it. Like, older. Like, past 60, 70-year-olds were picking it up for themselves and whatnot. It was like a phenomenon. Switcheroo? I don't know why in my head I had like a picture of like a kangaroo for some fucking reason when you said that. How about the old switcheroo? Like you could put it in the pocket and take it out, and it's a super powerful system. Oh man. The switcheroo. Switcheroo 64. Super Nintendo Switch U64 color. All right, we're going off the rails here, and I'm gonna leave because it's past 1 o'clock. I gotta do some stuff around the house before I pick up my kid for school. I appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with us each and every single morning. If you guys like it, look, it's a laid back thing. We have conversation with chat. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We have a podcast tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast that goes over a few top stories in the past week, and we rant along the way. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern, podcast format, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor.fm. We appreciate you very much for coming out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.